Hi guys, it's Claire Nocti. Welcome back to my channel and finally back to the male planetary dominance type series. Today I will be exploring the personality and appearance of men dominated by Jupiter in my personal approach to planet dominance based on the 27 nakshatras and their Vimshatori Dasha lords. You will see as I go how strongly these men embody the traditional significations of Jupiter. Studying Jupiter's natives in this way, Jupiter and his myths become personified and tangible. He becomes something that we can connect to emotionally, intellectually, and even sexually. Throughout your life, you have accumulated experiential knowledge of Jupiter animating those around you. I promise that you know the archetype very well, but didn't necessarily have the connection or label for it that you hopefully now will. I design my videos in such a way that I hope to help you to awaken your intuitive knowledge of this planet through immersion into the art and works of its natives. Astrology is deeply intertwined with mythology, and I find that some of the most amazing realizations come not just in contemplating ancient mythology, but completing the process by finding its pulse still beating in our modern myths. Finding it alive and developing in the stories that we imagine, the characters that we write, and who we intuitively assign to play those characters. So firstly, to consider Jupiter dominance in this system, a person must possess one or more of the Jupiter-ruled nakshatras as a primary placement, either moon, ascendant, or sun. Moon placement is the most important, and its nakshatra lord is the dominant planet the majority of the time, followed by the importance of the ascendant. But you cannot be Jupiter dominant in this system without that first factor of having at least one Jupiter-ruled nakshatra as a primary placement. The three trine Jupiter-ruled nakshatras are located on the cusps of the sidereal air and water signs, from 20 degrees of the air sign to 320 of the water sign. And they are Punarvasu, Vishaka, and Purva Bhadrapada. These are the three nakshatras in the Vimshatori system, the Dasha system, which is applicable to all people and is said to be the best for the public, that trigger periods in life in which one is tangibly saturated in Jupiterian energy and experiences. I have found that these powerful nakshatra trines create shocking patterns in the appearance and personality as well. You can note in my videos focused on a single nakshatra that explorative approach tends to especially bring up very cosmic, mythological, and even spiritual stage-related contemplations. But it's when you focus on the patterns in the trines specifically that especially easily understandable and practical perception of certain strong personality traits arises. Things that you can't isolate to just one nakshatra because they undeniably extend to the other two. And they show traits so firmly associated with the traditional nakshatra lord. I began this research with no expectations, and I just observe and observe for years and see which patterns come to light, and they always end up shocking me how much they embody the planet and also teach me so much about it in ways that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of, but that end up making so much more sense than assumptions. And that's what I love about astrological research in general. So now that I'm through all that intro stuff, I really hope you enjoy the video.
Why can't I ever fall in love with somebody nice like you?
Jupiter is the great benefic, the gentlest planet, who embodies expansion and abundance. He rules bodily fat because he is the padding or storehouse of excess that we have access to in order to protect us from hardship. He is the amount of softness that we have to pad us from our falls, the amount of sweetness that coats our lives, the ability to be optimistic, to have the positive perspective where we see the good in those around us, and to have the personal comfort to want to nurture happiness in others. When one is abundant and generous enough in different ways, such as through wealth, knowledge, or compassion, they become an encounter with luck and fortune for those who come in contact with them. Jupiter is the karaka or significator of children in one's chart traditionally, because children are something that take completely without us expecting them to give back. A being to who our greatest joy comes in giving. This planet is also the traditional significator of the husband in a woman's chart, due to the way throughout time, for reasons like pregnancy, nursing, menstruation, less body strength, and things like that, women were primarily relegated to the private home life. Her husband was then the chief indicator of how much sweetness that would be brought into her life. In this way, the quality and strength of Jupiter in a woman's chart shows the depth of abundance and comfort that she can gain through her husband. How much and what does he give to her? How merciful and compassionate is he? How much will he bear her burdens? As you will see throughout this video, Jupiter is truly the great, gentle, generous benefic, sweetening the lives of those around him. His influence is incomparable in terms of mercy, the inclination to be what is considered moralistically good, and to embody refinement and a natural separation from carnality. The other benefic is Venus, and the benefics are said to compete in a chart, so even if you're not foundationally dominated towards one or the other, people lean towards a more Venetian or more Jupiterian mechanism for how they enjoy themselves. Venetian sensual expenditure is of a more carnal nature relating to virility. Things like enjoyment of objective beauty, eroticism, even violence are associated with Venus's influence in the world.
I just had sex and I'm about to eat nachos! It's the greatest moment of my life!
As the guru of the Asuras, the mighty, Venus is very linked to the evolutionary instincts we have towards enjoyment, the part of us connected to the matrix and mechanisms of nature, the natural preferences for the beautiful and strong, which is why he is said to have perhaps the greatest influence on Earth as a planet overall. Venus protects and creates beauty through harshness and the pruning of that which is weak. Jupiter, on the other hand, is the guru of the Devas, and he is fully protective and forgiving, with no harsh qualities. He is most appreciated and needed by the weak, as he offers himself to nurture growth in the feeble or healing for the broken.
You are the kindest, most gentle, and honest guy I know.
He is the most oriented towards natural brahmacharya. He doesn't typically even need to engage in intentional austerity because he is by nature geared towards purity, deep-rooted in his everyday actions and reactions in each realm of life. He loves refined and gentle enjoyments, arts, and hobbies, but is distant from the animal nature's more carnal enjoyments relating to the aggression aspect of sexual expenditure. Venus is a Rajaistic planet of passion and change, while Jupiter is a Sattvic planet relating to maintaining harmony and peace. While no planet treats Jupiter as an enemy, he does not like the energies of the Rajaistic planets of Venus or Mercury. So Jupiter is traditionally the family man, and this planet relates to the masculine in its form as oriented towards nourishing others.
I'm nothing without my wife and kids.
While the sun is radiant and abundant, it burns anything that comes too close to it, and in that way does not accumulate dependence, as he forces a distance between himself and others. Jupiter, on the other hand, is the largest planet in the solar system, 2.5 times larger than all other planets combined in terms of mass, and so is second to Sun in abundance. Like the Sun, Jupiter is also a Sattvic and discharging or Pingala planet. However, Jupiter doesn't possess this burning, combusting aspect, and does not harm those who try to link onto him, and in this way, he accumulates many dependents of all kinds, a wife, children, stepchildren, friends, students, employees, and so on, and becomes a source of nourishment for a large group. He bears the burdens of others with his depths of abundance and is protective to those in need. Jupiter functions best in Cancer, and according to some, in Cancer's natural house, house 4. He is exalted specifically in the Pusha portion of nourishment, symbolized by the cow udder. In most species, males have a much lower nurturing instinct than females, but human men have a side to them that can be very maternal, or as maternal as women when activated. While Moon rules the mother and breasts and relates to the feminine motherly instinct and nurturing abilities, Jupiter is the embodiment of the masculine when he is similarly maternal and caring, accepting absolute dependency in others, providing sanctuary, but never taking advantage of that dependency or using it in a controlling manner.
Brad here is more of a real dad than any of us. You ever want to see how you should be raising your kids? Go look at this guy. Here I go again.
That's all he ever used to talk about, his wife and his kids.
You certainly are a devoted father.
I love being a dad.
Why is it that Chet's kids look at him like he's Zeus? My kids look at me like I'm a rack of yard tools at Sears. Why can't they connect with me?
To be maternal, women have evolved towards higher traits of patience, empathy, and agreeableness to better suit interaction with the extreme neediness and draining tendencies of infants who require unconditional and selfless love. In this way, they have some struggle in the modern world in negotiating for themselves or standing up for their own needs, oftentimes needing things like assertiveness training. So Jupiter men are sometimes described in the modern world as feminine, and that they are the masculine nurturing nurturing counterpart, also by nature more agreeable, considerate, and empathetic than average. They have a natural, almost feminine eloquence, refinement, and gentleness.
Strong men also cry. Strong men also cry.
Are you crying?
What are you, a robot? It's a deeply emotional movie.
I tend to cry a lot.
No, I think it's a rare quality in a man to be able to cry.
Why? I think it's sweet.
They develop these qualities as the husband archetype. Their primary strength is not in the alpha male field of sexual competition and mating that I showed sun men dominating, but rather they are the universe's way of trying to guarantee that physically gentler beings like women and children are loved and protected by someone merciful and sensitive. This can be considered in that one primary expression of Jupiter on the facial features is through what is referred to as a high trust face. One first feature linked with an immediate impression of trustworthiness and a more gentle personality in research is the presence of a long mid-face, meaning the eyes and mouth appear to be more distant due to the length to width ratio of the mid-face. Trustworthiness is also portrayed through the eyes. While more furrowed and straight brows indicate aggression, lifted brows, especially in the inner corners, portray kindness. The eye shape found on Jupiter men is often upturned on the outer corners, but not sharp, narrowed, or penetrating because the eyes often become quite rounded and open towards the middle and towards the inner corner. Furthermore, the long mid-face has been associated in research with higher perceived intelligence, something also linked with Jupiter, who is the significator of wisdom.
You don't call me Bob the Brain for nothing.
Finally, this is also linked to those of a higher social class. Research found that people were able to accurately guess someone's social class by facial cues alone, and the length of the mid-face was a primary factor, which makes sense in that Jupiter is a Brahmin planet. It's interesting in terms of Jupiter as the nourishing husband archetype that these features are more present in higher class families due to the breeding in these families of attractive women with less attractive men but who are wealthy. Therefore, over time making genetic lines with a lot of generational wealth more geared towards feminine beauty than masculine features, and thus a more gentle appearance is produced.
Who are you?
I'm Dr. Sheila Gamble, his wife.
Come on, seriously, who is that?
His old lady.
Sweetie, seriously, come on, what? Who is that?
It's your ball and chain.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, Sammy.
For this reason, these men are often depicted in films or viewed by the public as highly giving or selfless, such as the wholesome reputation of Punarvasu moon native Keanu Reeves. The gentleness that they show towards others then also elicits empathy in those who perceive them. The comment section under Jupiter men videos are often so filled with people raving emotionally and even crying about their purity or innocence, calling them wholesome, expressing things such as calling them too pure for this world, like the two characters in Stranger Things that people say this about being Jupiter men. Even in The Lord of the Rings, 3 out of 4 of the hobbits have primary Jupiter-ruled nakshatras for the actor's ability to instantly portray a natural aura of goodness and gentleness. The hobbits are described as a humble, kindly group of people who mainly spend their time on simple enjoyments like eating tons of food.
We do not stop till nightfall.
What about breakfast?
We've already had it.
We've had one, yes. What about second breakfast?
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Luncheon, afternoon tea, dinner, supper.
Did they? They didn't. Yes, they did. They did indeed. They added cheese. And then, my friend, they wrapped it in a sumptuous pancake bun.
The hobbits were entrusted to carry the powerful and dangerous ring because they are inconspicuous. It's unexpected for that humble race to have such a big task. And also because they are by nature more pure, meaning that they are less likely to be corrupted by their ring than others. Jupiter, Guru, is a compassionate teacher of human and heavenly morals, which is why they feel so naturally bound under goodness personally, and why the ultimate test of morals and their relativity is found in the final Jupiter-ruled nakshatra, Purva Bhadrapada, where their huge build-up of this merit and goodness is put to an unmatched spiritual challenge of temptation for unbound expansion and excess.
I will take it. I will take it. I will take the ring to Mordor.
He wasn't built for that. He wasn't built to be accused of something for something that he's doing out of the generous, out of his generous. He was too pure, and I've said that many times. My uncle was too pure for this world.
Yeah. If you knew what kind of person he really was, people don't know.
We didn't deserve him. We really didn't.
So the judgments that people naturally make about these types of facial characteristics are largely due to their overall life experiences and pattern-making abilities, in which they link Jupiter men to wholesome and non-carnal traits.
What? You're a sweet boy, you know that? Shut up. No, you truly are. Your Bambi-like innocence is just what? Adorable. I'm gonna pinch your cheek.
This previous slide shows Jupiter features when they are placed on a person with a higher level of Vata or air element for one reason or another in their chart, which increases the height and the overall face length, as well as narrows the nose and makes it more prone to having a bumpy bridge. This slide here shows Jupiter men of a more Kapha or Pitta nature, which is arguably more common. The longer mid-face is present on both tall Jupiter examples as with long faces, as well as those with shorter faces and bodies overall, but still a long mid-face. The most common body type for Jupiter men tends to have a hobbit-like effect in being quite compact and short to average in height for men. Tolkien, for example, describing a hobbit, said full in the stomach, shortish in the leg, a round jovial face. This most common type of Jupiter man tends to have a nose that is quite wide in some way, either through being bulbous or having wide nostril flares. But overall, the quickest way to intuitively spot a Jupiter man is simply if you feel almost no fierceness in his gaze. If it feels totally soft and non-threatening, even if the eyes are narrowed, largely due to the eyebrow positioning. It is said by astronomers that Jupiter plays an important protecting role for the solar system, in that its massive gravity captures or expels from the solar system many asteroids or comets that would otherwise threaten Earth or the inner planets, and this can be seen in Jupiter men roles such as Lord of the Rings. You will see it over and over as I go on, a Jupiter man tending to feel almost a compulsion to bear hardships for others. The wife of Brihaspati is the Mahavidya goddess Tara, who empowers Jupiter amongst the planets. She is known as the Savioress, who assists anyone to cross over their hardships.
I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you!
Jupiterian individuals tend to willingly take on big responsibilities, to sacrifice their comforts to preserve goodness or protect others. People in turn feel such a natural compassion about Jupiter men that films will often intentionally put them through abuse.
You know what brought this on? I was feeling so good a few minutes ago. I haven't cried since I was 40.
Filmmakers intuitively know, without the label for it, that nothing will hurt you more or make you cry more than seeing something harsh or severe happen to someone so oriented towards mercy.
I wanted to murder that smug prick.
Dusty, look, I hate that guy too, okay? But his son is Dylan's best friend, so you suck it up. I mean, that's most of what dads do is take shit. I mean, that's what we do.
I can't do it, Brad. All right, I can't take shit like you do. I mean, you take shit better than anyone I've ever met, and I mean that as a compliment from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Brad. I can't do it.
You made a promise to Megan and you're gonna keep it. Ow!
Ow! Did you just punch me in the face, Brad?
Ow, yes.
Oh, full well I got no choice but to bust you up now?
Oh, I really wish you wouldn't.
If I did, you'd take that beat down for those kids, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would.
There's some good in this world, Mr. Fertile. And it's worth fighting for.
It's a kind of goodness that can't be faked. Surrounding cast members of Jupiter men express this. For example, Lord of the Rings cast members described that Sean Astin is Sam Gamgee, every bit as noble and good to a rare level. So while I explored previously the way that sun-dominant men have tendencies towards bachelorhood, I also explained how in evading commitment or attachment, they often resist putting time into their own children. It's interesting actually that 3 of the Jupiter men films that I'll be going over today even include further examples of the sun man archetype abandoning or being very distant from their children.
I'm here for career day with my son Ricky.
Dad!
Hey there, boy! Man, you got big. How long's it been? 3-4 months?
10 years.
10 years. Man.
Well, I guess I'll move to a new town with a better airport. That way you won't be inconvenienced when you show up every 5 years or so.
Same old Mr. Touchy. I love it.
This is universally compensated, though, by the way that Jupiter men are so giving that they are the stepfather archetype. The man not only willing to care for his own children, but also to give energy, love, and money to the children of other men, just as he gives generously to his friends or wife. So while Sun actually rules the father amongst the planets and would be the primary men to dominate the breeding game in nature and and birthed the most children.
I haven't seen my daddy in years, but my mama says he's out racing cars and dipping his wick in anything that moves.
Jupiter is what we perceive of as the real dad figure, with this immense tolerance and mercy. Even in physiognomy, through testing on children analyzing the high-trust faces found on these men, they preferred these features and were found more likely to describe them as nice. In Daddy's Home, Will Ferrell is a stepfather for the kids of Mark Wahlberg, who is far less present in their lives. The Jupiter man, though, basically lives for his role as their dad, even when they don't show him much care or affection in return.
What do kids need more? A father or a dad? What's the difference? The way I see it, darn near anyone can be a father. But not everyone has the patience or devotion to be a dad.
Infants can get very confused and upset when they're separated from their mothers, so I invented something to ease LJ's anxiety during chow time. I call it the mammary gland.
As for me,
Anybody caught a monarch yet?
I've always wanted to be a dad. And let me tell you, I love it. Okay, I'm not their real dad.
Good morning, Miss Whitaker.
I'm their stepdad.
Good morning, Megan.
Sean Astin's character in Stranger Things is also a very caring stepfather.
I like you so much. Not just you. Everything that comes with you. Your family, your boys. I hope it's not wishful thinking, but I kind of feel like I'm breaking through with them. I feel like we're connecting.
He likes you too.
Yeah.
I can help.
As is the Jay character in Modern Family with Vishaka ascendant. In the film Drive, Ryan Gosling becomes protective over a woman and her young son whose real father is in jail and abusive. Even the classic cartoon film The Aristocats is about an alley cat voiced by a Vishaka Moon native that immediately bonds with and begins fathering his girlfriend's kittens.
All those little kittens, Duchess. I love them.
And they are very fond of you.
Yeah.
But you know, they need, a father around.
Oh, Thomas, that would be wonderful.
So the way that the children these men are protecting and loving are not even their own just exaggerates the selflessness involved. When I realized how often this stepfather trope arose in films of Jupiter men, it of course amazed me to then reflect on the myth of Jupiter, Brihaspati, and his wife Tara. In this myth, Brihaspati is a Brahmin man not inclined towards carnal passion, interested in learning and religion, and Tara tires of this and cheats on him with Moon, a more passionate and sensual planet. After a lot of struggle, Brihaspati gets Tara to come back, but when she returns, she is pregnant with Moon's child. She births the planet Mercury as a son. Brihaspati is willing to take Mercury as his own child and care for him, loving him so much that he eventually ignores the fact that Mercury is not his own. Jupiter is said to rule the yolk of the egg, the nutrients and energy given to help other things grow, with a cosmic function to preserve and nurture innocence. He, as a planet, has the most literal dependence in his possession of more moons and natural satellites than any other planet in the solar system. Purva Bhadrapada moon director John Hughes was particularly known for his films that were focused on the loving family man, like the movie Christmas Vacation, and especially his friendship and creative partnership with Punarvasu moon actor John Candy, such as his sweet dad role in The Great Outdoors.
Now you know I never turn my back on family.
I know. That's why I came up here.
Jupiter is a beneficial surrounding influence to have during childhood because while negative experiences and hardship tend to be strengthening for the character of adults, they do not help children who need tolerance and softness. Negative experiences like trauma or lack of love for children often lead to the development of neuroses that make it harder to function in adulthood. The nourishment and unconditional love that one receives in their early years is what eventually becomes the internalized abundance and self-love, helping them to overcome struggle as an adult, to be forgiving of ourselves and be able to move forward from setback, to be able to soothe ourselves through hardship. So now if you consider the Tara Brihaspati element of this myth, so much of this is also reflected in Jupiter men's stories in terms of romance and compatibility that I will be unpacking throughout a lot of this video. From things like him having to bear certain levels of abuse from women, such as being cheated on, as well as his vast level of lenience and willingness to forgive.
If you slept with your best friend's wife, why would he apologize to you?
Yeah, no, that's weird.
And finally, to the note of his non-carnal nature, which is what makes Tara sexually restless. As I mentioned, these men display over and over a strong distance from their animal nature, making them less naturally sexual and very civilized.
I am a voracious reader of classic prose, an aspiring novelist.
More oriented towards knowledge, simple and pure enjoyments, and refined arts, for example.
It's disgusting. You're like an animal.
What? I'm disgusting. You're the weird one, man. Don't make me feel weird because I like porn. You're the weird one for not liking porn. I'm normal as shit.
If I'm paying top dollar, I want a little production value, you know, like some editing, transition, something, some music.
Yeah, you know, well, I'm sorry, Evan, that the Coen brothers don't direct the porn that I watch. They're hard to get a hold of, okay?
Films poke fun at this quality to their nature in positioning them near men who are all having sexual interactions with women, while the Jupiter man is, through his gentleness, removed from doing so. In the apartment, the Jupiter man is taken advantage of by his 4 company managers who take turns borrowing his apartment for their extramarital affairs, which he manages with a detailed schedule. This leaves him locked out of his apartment and alone many nights. Michael Cera in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist is placed in a similar position, meant to joke about the passive kindness of Jupiter men, where because his car is yellow, couples sometimes jump in thinking he's a taxi, and he doesn't even muster up the aggression to stop them or insist that they get out.
So are you from Englewood?
In Youth and Revolt, Michael Cera's character comments that all the people in his life except for him and his Jupiter-ruled friend are having sexual encounters.
It's amazing and incredibly irritating to me how much action everyone around me seems to be getting. With one exception.
My sister saw Millie holding hands with some college guy.
My best friend Lefty's had a crush on a girl named Millie Filbert since 3rd grade.
And generally, it's not so much because they're always rejected from doing it, as you'll see, but because they are much less libidinous than most men, and it feels unnatural to them.
I got this book, Love Making for Advanced Gourmets. I'm looking up some tips.
I think that Sheenie might find this pinky technique less than romantic. Hey Lefty, could I borrow this for a bit? There might be 1 or 2 things in here I should know.
Yeah, it's fine.
Your father is spiritual and
Oh, he's not my father. Jerry's my mother's consort. He and I have no blood links of any kind.
I showed in my Ashlesha video how Ashlesha relates to passing of the Brahma Granthi, where one is able to awaken their flow of sexual energy, which correlates Ashlesha's yoni consort, Punarvasu, to the struggle for the loss of virginity for men. It is this nakshatra cosmically that links Jupiter to coming-of-age films for men, in particularly depicting the virginity of being trapped under Ashlesha's bound nature as the coiled kundalini. In this way, similar to the frozen, extended, long-term virginity of Ashlesha, young Jupiter men are often cast in roles relating to trying to lose their virginity, such as in American Pie.
We are the masters of our sexual destiny. We must make a stand here and now. No longer will our penises remain flaccid and unused. By God, we will not stand by and watch history condemn us into celibacy. Amen.
The First Time, Breakfast Club.
It's only because I didn't want to know I was a virgin, okay? Excuse me for being a virgin, I'm sorry.
16 Candles.
I've never bagged a babe. I'm not a stud.
Needless to say, I'm still a virgin.
And Superbad. The more intellect-oriented aspect of Jupiter-nakshatras in regards to physiognomy also pins them as the individuals cast as characters distant from their sexuality, somewhat sexually immature for their age, in the way that they are innocent at heart, often enjoying hobbies, games, learning about electronics, and puzzles or things of that nature. I'll distinguish though that it's a bit of a different type of play than video games, which are more stimulating and require a lot of projecting of one's energy. Because Jupiter men are energetically satiated, just like they're less carnal, they're also less prone to enjoying highly stimulating activities and are more interested in more grounded or simple enjoyments or arts that others might find boring.
What is that?
Fellini movie?
So random.
Yeah, they were all out of Miss Congeniality too, Armed and Fabulous, so I went for a random.
This general non-carnal tendency can be considered in the more endearing expressions of the geek or nerd trope that you likely noticed in these coming-of-age films. Purva Bhadrapada Moon writer-director John Hughes is also considered to be the one who first, I quote, allowed geeks to be more than just freaks or human calculators in his 80s teen comedies. The geeks played by Vishaka Moon native Anthony Michael Hall in Hughes movies like The Breakfast Club or 16 Candles weren't typically the leads, and they didn't usually get the girl. They were still goofy and awkward, but they were also treated with more sensitivity. And in movies like the Hughes scripted Weird Science, they were even allowed to be the heroes. Michael Cera was then a primary star of the post-Hughes nerd movie era, typecast as the sensitive, completely awkward, but logical teen with distance from any kind of natural carnality.
Their tiger style kung fu is strong.
But our dragon style will defeat it. The Shaolin masters from East and West must unite. Fight and find out who is number one.
You got those ninja sticks?
Nunchaku is an Okinawan weapon.
Fine, great.
Ninjas, as you call them,
just,
are Japanese. I've got a better idea. Are you familiar with the Morning Star?
No, I just...
Lights out. That's how hard I threw it.
So, sexual awakening for Jupiter men is sometimes a bit delayed, but there are benefits and drawbacks to being less or more naturally libidinous that I'll explore later in the video. One thing to touch on before getting into their romantic relationships is the way that libidinous masculinity is often preferred by many women on a sexual level. I've explored in the past the way that, in separating the civilized nature from the instinct, men will often hold a dualistic division of women, the Freudian Madonna whore complex, where he views women who arouse him as debased or cheap, and women who do not arouse him as pure. In that way, he traps a woman as a wife that he shames away from embracing her sensuality while viewing sexual women through porn or otherwise. There is actually a somewhat similar duality that some women hold, which has been described recently as the Chad versus Beta Bucks. The so-called Chad is the untamed male energy unable to be controlled. On a sexual level, women have been shown in research to desire a certain level of this wildness or aggression in their partners, but this untamed intense male energy begins to feel abusive or upsetting to them over time and threatening to the ego, even if it's sexually enthralling. When they are ready to settle down after spending their teens or 20s with this top 20%, this duality expresses that they then gravitate towards a more domesticated, tamed, and commitment-oriented man. Instead of being sexually excited by him, she values him for things like the comfort, stability, or even the wealth he provides. A range of desires which Jupiterian men who are domestic, non-carnal, but nurturing tend to most fulfill. Like this planet, they find so much power in the 4th house subjects of the private home life, and oftentimes seem even more eloquent, delicate, and thoughtful than their female partner. The negative Beta Bucks label for this role was primarily placed there by men who feel in some way victimized by it, as this label also tends to have elements where it is suggested that the wife often cheats on this kind of man and gets away with it, eventually divorces him and drains his money, never shows him her sensual side because he doesn't activate it for her, and things like that. The same division from nature that allowed humans to create society can be found reflected in the disconnection of our minds from our libidos, which still automatically run nature's formulas. So some women feel confusion about their satisfaction, similar to the way men do, where she wants something comforting and reliable, but can have trouble finding that in the same person that sexually excites her to the highest level.
He's wild and he's crazy. That's why I fell in love with him. Then you end up with 2 kids. I'm stuck there holding the bag and he's nowhere to be found. It doesn't matter how much love or passion or just you can't breathe without each other. All that stuff is stupid in comparison. When you have kids, you have responsibilities. He doesn't understand that.
And the two exaggerated extremes of that division tend to fall on Jupiter and Sun.
Everyone likes you better than him.
Not everyone.
Then she's a foolish girl and she doesn't deserve you.
Hey, does that movie come with tampons for your pussy?
No, Chad. I'll be upset if it doesn't. In the movies, the good guy gets the girl. In real life, it's usually the prick.
So Jupiter men are the supportive individuals who women will tend to go to, especially when they have been through trauma or have come of an age where they are experienced enough to realize the benefit in what Jupiter men provide. If a woman grew up in a difficult household, didn't have much wealth, or has been through some form of trauma or abuse, she will often be more immediately interested in Jupiter men at a young age. The counterpart to the stepfather role is frequently a woman in some kind of weakened state, as a single mother, oftentimes feeling discarded or unwanted, burdened or hurt by a negligent or absent father to her children. In Stranger Things Season 1, the Winona Ryder character has been through the intense trauma of having her son missing. By Season 2, she has found a sweet and patient Jupiter man to bring her security and healing, who she had totally ignored the existence of in high school when she was in a position of more strength.
In high school, you didn't know who I was.
Look at me now. I get to date Joyce Byers. Huh? Are you kidding me? I get to date Joyce. See, it all works out in the end, doesn't it?
Jupiter is the planet ruling what one receives from men, and so in relationships is a primary foundational need for women. So if they do not have comfort either inwardly or outwardly, they're more likely to favor that first over carnality or even romance. There is immense relief in Jupiter's energies for any women who have struggled a lot with men with dishonest or negative intentions in the past.
No one's ever been so nice to me.
I should thank you, though. For what? For being the nicest guy I ever dated.
The two benefics, Venus and Jupiter, tend to be the two long-term partnership cravings that women most juggle between. Venus first leans towards intense romance, and Jupiter first leans towards satisfying the material needs, developing a family life, and having children. In the film Casino, Robert De Niro's character is even totally aware that the woman he's marrying is not romantically or passionately in love with him, but suggests that he just wants to give her money, take care of her, and have children with her, and that he believes eventually she'll come to love him enough through that.
To marry you. I want to settle down. I want a family. I know I'd be a good father. I know you'd be a good mother.
You don't know me. What do you know me 2-3 months?
I know you well enough to know that I really love you very much.
I care about you, but I just don't have those kind of feelings for you.
But you know, what is love anyway? It's a mutual respect. It's a devotion. It's a caring from one person to another. If we could set up some kind of foundation based on that mutual respect, I feel that eventually you would care enough about me that I could live with that.
You know, if it doesn't play out, then what happens to me?
If it doesn't work out between us, I'm going to make sure you're okay for the rest of your life. And if there are kids, especially, I'll take care of you better than you'd ever imagine.
What are you pitching me?
Just what I said.
Ryan Gosling has Vishaka sun in Purva Bhadrapada ascendant and is the subject of the famous Hey Girl meme. These memes are essentially women's fantasies about what Ryan Gosling would say if he was their boyfriend or husband, and based on his trustworthy facial cues and his aura, these memes emphasize an extreme amount of mercy and generosity from him that reflects the sensitive and endearing characters he is often cast as. They show things like him being super tolerant about any of her shortcomings or weaknesses, providing her with endless comfort, doing the gentle feminine things she enjoys, as well as being a great listener.
Step King was very upset because when the real king pulled out his sword, it was long and shiny, and the Step King did shudder at the size of it.
And while the Step King acknowledged that the king carried a mighty, beautifully engraved broadsword, all the maidens in the land preferred the more average size Step King's sword because it knew how to listen.
So similar to women who haven't had much ease in life, if women have a foundational nature of the planets of Mars or Ketu, she can also tend to appreciate them more naturally. With Mars women, this is in particular with those who have been saturated with abuse or force to the point that they crave gentleness, due to often being used or taken advantage of sexually, as I've previously explored. Jupiter men tend to be the counterpart to this, sometimes experiencing abuse even on a sexual level as men, as I'll outline more later. So this pairing is good because they practice mutual tenderness and sensitivity with one another. Mars nakshatras are 2 out of the 3 yoni consorts for Jupiter-nakshatras, and Mars rules debts, remedied in the way Jupiter brings wealth. Mars women tend to not be controlling, having less of the female guile than most, and possessing characteristics which do not tend to take advantage of Jupiter men's particular traits. Then, Ketu rules poverty. Ketu-dominant women often have a lot of inner turmoil or chaos, and so crave something sweet and stable outwardly to unite with.
Okay, well, I'll pay you back at the party then.
No, you won't. No, it's my treat, miss.
Really?
Yep, and that's that. It's the first of many, too, so get used to it, sister.
Oh, well, thank you.
Ketu women are more aware than average about the need for outer stability, wealth, and so on due to the more constant internal struggle that they feel. This leads to why Ketu women are often cast or involved in gold digging or marrying wealthy partners.
Yeah, whoa. Go to up. Come on, number 1. Woo!
Daddy gave me all this jewelry because he loves me so much.
But as much as they loved her, they didn't know what really moved her.
Look at this.
I haven't gotten a chance to more experientially show Ketu women tropes yet in any videos, but I can begin to give you some idea of their behavior through these clips that will be coming. One chaotic energy archetype is the unhinged valley girl persona and manner of speaking, like the common typecasting of Ketu natives Reese Witherspoon or Leslie Mann.
Girls! Time for your Adderall! Do our morning prayer, okay? Okay? My chief aim in life is to continually strive to be the best person that I can be for the greater good of the planet, and so it is.
And so it is.
Woo! I'm a firm believer in karma. And I think this situation was attracted into my life as a huge learning lesson for me to grow and expand as a spiritual human being.
Instead of strutting across campus in a beautiful diamond formation, we were forced to strut across campus in a triad formation like a bunch of hobos.
It's a garter snake. No, it isn't. Look at its markings. What markings? This is a sweater.
I want to lead a country one day, for all I know.
I'm skilled at commanding the attention of a room and discussing very important issues. It has come to my attention that the maintenance staff is switching our toilet paper from Charmin to generic. All those opposed to chafing, please say aye.
A trope which emphasizes an extreme lack of self-awareness and being disturbing to the environment to where it feels jarring to others. In association with the headless, heated, but vacuous and inhaling nature of this planet, Ketu makes its natives less sensitive to the norms and expectations of society on their behavior.
So if you're from Africa, why are you white? Oh my God, Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white.
So they will often pursue what they want with less thought or apprehension than most. Films often depict Ketu women in a range of disorderly ways like substance abuse.
No, I didn't have anything to drink.
Go into this?
What is this?
The judge recommended I get one.
I just want to party forever.
Having addictive tendencies. All things softened by the mercy and fat of Jupiter.
Oh, sorry.
I think we're not thinking clearly.
The headless Ketu is a planet completely tied to the blind impulse, while Jupiter is a main planet transcendent over impulsiveness.
It's just, I need something to distract myself from the fact that you're driving my car pretty recklessly right now.
I'm a great driver. Fine.
And is forbearing and patient to constantly study Ketu individuals.
What a move. I fell in love right there. But in Vegas, for a girl like Ginger, love costs money.
Situations with wealthy men being in a relationship where they were supposedly with gold diggers are frequent due to the tolerance and abundance of this planet, as well as its slight gullibility that I will touch on later, and oftentimes the woman in the union has a Ketu-nakshatra.
So once she signs those papers, she'll be the only person to have total access to the box, no one else, including myself.
Sam, let me ask you a question. You must really trust your wife.
Yeah, sure I do. Why?
No, that's good. It's just unusual. To tell you the truth, so many of my clients don't.
This includes concerns of this that the public expressed with Holly Madison, an ex-wife of Purva Bhadrapada moon native Hugh Hefner. Gold digging was said to have occurred with Usher and his ex-wife Tamika.
My best friend said she used to with Usher. I don't care what none of y'all say, I still love her.
Ashwini moon native Amber Rose admits to being a gold digger, and there are rumors that Kanye West was a victim of this. He also has the most famous song about this subject, Gold Digger.
I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke.
Robert De Niro was overheard in a fight saying to his wife, "I wouldn't have to make such shitty movies if you didn't spend all my money." In Modern Family, Sofia Vergara is always depicted as spending lavishly with the money of her Vishaka ascendant husband.
It's all Gloria's idea. She bought all of our tickets and everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone's?
It's your birthday. I didn't spare any expense.
Oh, gee. Thank you, honey. Are they all going to be up with us in first class?
I know, silly coach. You think I'm made of money?
Of course not.
In The Big Lebowski, wild partying Ketu woman Tara Reid marries a wealthy Punarvasu moon native.
I hope that someday my wife will learn to live on her allowance, which is ample.
In It Takes Two, Mullah native Jane Sibbett is marrying the Olsen twins' dad for money.
I can see right through you.
Similarly, in The Parent Trap, the dreaded young soon-to-be stepmother of Lindsay Lohan is a Ketu-dominant woman.
You and I both know your father's not some kind of suave, debonair, bachelor of the month type. So I gotta ask myself, what is a hot young thing like that seeing a guy who walks around with his shirt tail hanging out and a cereal bowl full of chili? Then I realized there's about 1,000,000 reasons why that girl's giggling. And all of them are sitting at the Napa Valley Community Bank.
He's everything you ever wanted for your little girl, plus millions more.
In Blow, Ashwini ascendant native Penelope Cruz plays a wild drug-abusing wife married to a rich man as well.
We're broke, that's my fucking problem.
The film Heartbreakers is set on the premise of a mother-daughter duo who marry and divorce rich men in a matter of months for wealth, and both are Ketu primary nakshatra women.
The story of two con women who never married for money, unless there was lots of it.
Even more very iconic examples of this will be explored in a bit. This connection between Ketu women and Jupiter men can be considered in the way that Tara heals Jupiter, but her bija is stream, which is the bija used in the Ketu Shakti mantra. These energies seem negative, but on a spiritual level can help a Jupiter man to reduce his immense inner excess that can become dangerously large, or rotting with sweetness and a dangerous tempting state, as I've explored in my Purva Bhadrapada video. Interestingly, Ketu and Mars are both associated with the pungent taste, which is the taste recommended to remove body fat in Ayurveda. So Ketu is naturally distant from comforts, while Jupiter is all about having too much accumulation and not having the tendency to carry out urges to expend it, which can also become dangerous. Jupiter rules the 12th house of charity and giving to those in need, while Ketu is associated traditionally with the role of living off of donations, having no storehouse of safety, associated with renunciates as well as handicapped people, or anyone who can't fit into society or can't work for some reason. Both of these planets have spiritually oriented natures. While Jupiter is so abundant, Ketu is most willing to drain that abundance and use it in the formation of an identity for oneself or to try to experience healing. And in that way, when a Ketu person encounters a Jupiter person, both with either gender, there's undeniably a ton of energetic interaction that can take place. This also ties to why Tara in myth sucks out poison, which is essentially that Purva Bhadrapada effect, where one stores too much energy without enough reductive forces or sensual output, as it avoids the yoni reductive force due to being so initially geared towards non-carnality.
You heard me, Holly!
What?
I'm still in love with you!
Oh my god, he's talking about me!
And don't think I forgot about how crazy you get after a few daiquiris.
Dion Fortune explains in her book Moon Magic, for example, that the more masculine a man is, the more he requires a feminine contact to discharge and absorb his excess virility. For example, it is explained in the tarot that the princesses are the thrones for masculine energies to ground and manifest in the material world. Masculine energy can only achieve its true power and manifestation when it has the proper throne to discharge and realize its energy through. In the movie I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, an Ashwini moon woman is tired of life, feels discarded by and ignored by most men, is fed up with human indecency, and feels that she can't find a place in reality. And the way that she connects with the sense of happiness and hopefulness about human nature is through the companionship of a gentle and innocent Jupiter man.
What are we doing?
Whatever you want.
What are we doing? Here, in the world.
Trying to be good. Be better.
What about me? Am I good?
Yeah. Of course you are.
Where most show disinterest, he shows care.
Maybe we should hold hands. Like we're engaged.
Right when she expresses need, he immediately jumps into her life to try to protect her through her hardships.
Don't worry. I won't let anything happen to you.
And is even willing at one point to sacrifice his life for her. In the film The Apartment, an Ashwini woman finds out that she was just one of the many mistresses for the man she was dating, one of the bosses of the Jupiter man with the apartment that I mentioned earlier. She tries to overdose on sleeping pills in this Jupiter man's apartment and ends up spending 2 days there as he respects her boundaries, takes care of her, and warms her into feeling happiness again.
Oh God, I'm so fouled up. What am I gonna do now?
Better win a hand. You're on a blitz.
Maybe he does love me, only he doesn't have the nerve to tell his wife.
I'm sure that's the explanation.
You really think so?
No doubt about it.
Another early life difficulty these men encounter in romance, especially due to their less sexually forward nature, cosmic tendencies toward providing unconditional love, and willingness to be drained with nothing in return, is the experience of being friend-zoned.
Why can't I ever fall in love with somebody nice like you?
Yeah, well, that's the way it crumbles, cookie-wise.
I just want to know what to do if I like somebody.
Oh, right. Well, you want to be that one that she confides in, that she tells you about all of her problems with the guys she's actually dating.
Got it.
It's called the Friendzone. It's where we Whitaker men thrive. We're the best in the biz.
While Venus relates to passion and craving, coveting, and appreciating sensually certain qualities in women, from Jupiter's perspective in Dharma, those are wrong motivations, not in accordance with his particular nature, which is to be philosophical and avoid actions based on craving or desire. So he has a willingness to provide advice or friendship for a woman who does not return any kind of intimacy that other men might require when giving energy to a woman that they like.
I totally get that guys don't want to hang out with the girl with the boyfriend.
So is that it? That's your big pitch to be my friend? That was terrible.
Yeah, I know. I practiced in the mirror and...
Anyway.
Friends?
Yeah, why not?
Alright.
Friends.
The film What If is about a Jupiter man being friendzoned due to never admitting his feelings, and shows an interesting contrast between the two benefics.
You are misreading this whole situation because you can't interact with a woman without sex screwing it up, but I can because I'm a grown-up.
And it's so adorable that you really believe that?
Venus as the aspect of romance tied to virility and the way sexuality and aggression are two sides of the same coin, embrace fierceness and therefore embrace eroticism, showing wild passion about each other, even animalistically or violently so.
Oh, I love you so much. I want to just rip off your arms and legs and carry you around in my purse all day.
I love you so much. I'm gonna mash your head in with a potato masher.
I love you so much. I want to grind up your muscles and organs and bones and spread you on toast.
I love you so much, I'm gonna put your spleen through a meat grinder.
But Jupiter men in lacking natural aggression therefore also lack that erotic vivacity. They're not set up energetically to negotiate for themselves, and their libidos are lower, so they end up accumulating more women in their lives without a sexual component to the exchange than most men do.
What I'm saying is my girlfriend is in there, and I'm out here. Well, she's a girl, and she's my friend, so she's a girlfriend, but...
Their energetic body is designed only to expand and be forgiving towards what it encounters, so many women enjoy their company even if not sexually because of this. This ever-expanding nature is why Brihaspati means spirit of the vast. While Jupiter men are very much appreciated by hotter planets like the hottest planet Ketu, the friend zone victimization happens more frequently with moon-dominant women, which is a cold planet. I've explored before how moon-dominant women and being worshipful towards sun energy are the most tolerant about more extreme, carnal, or crude levels of masculinity. They are by nature very devotional, but for that reason seem to especially completely disregard any less direct forms of masculinity, like the gentle behavior of Jupiter men.
So this girl Jane, she doesn't like you back.
She likes me, platonically, as a friend. You know when you are about to fulfill your destiny? I waited too long, and then I got hugged.
You're so awesome. Oh, this is so nice to have a good guy friend. I can't even tell you.
And at this point, I'd be willing to give up everything in my life to be with her.
Nick, you're very nice, but I should tell you I have a boyfriend.
Warmer planets, especially of Ketu as well as Sun, are often shown pursuing the Jupiter man.
Oh my god, you dirty little slut. What? You're practically blowing him with your eye.
She's way smashed, and she's been yammering about you all night.
Really? What was she saying? Was she told you that she thinks I'm a good guy?
No. She said something more like, I will fully blow him tonight.
What?
Appreciating his gentleness and not needing him to be dominating or assertive to win her attention, because it's the non-aggression that in some way appeals to them.
I can already tell that you are a breath of fresh air from the jugheads that I deal with at the bar every night. Oh, it's like really easy to get an overdose of testosterone in that line of work, you know?
Yeah. You want to go with me?
I'm sick of macho guys. Plus you looked really cute in your costume.
Moon, on the other hand, will seemingly keep Jupiter men in their sphere inexhaustibly without anything ever happening beyond friendship, even while he secretly pines after her.
You'll keep in touch. You might even be invited to their wedding. And their dad's like, Brad, what are you doing here? Teresa never talks about you. But you'll be sad ultimately knowing that she's not with you. And you want to prepare yourself with like a mixtape of sad songs.
Option 3, patiently wait it out. Eventually, either the distance gets to them and they break up, or it doesn't, and they get married, live a happy life, with you always on the outside looking in, quietly pining indefinitely.
And I showed in the sun-dominant men video how moon-dominant women are often perceived of as too emotional and dependent by sun men. You could say that behind many of the moon women adoring sun men is a Jupiter man being friend-zoned by her. And oftentimes behind the Jupiter man is a heated planet woman pursuing him. I showed one side of this in the film Something's Gotta Give in my sun-dominant video, in which a moon woman falls for an old sun man bachelor who she thinks is a misogynist and kind of a schmuck, but still really likes him even though she has tons of trouble getting him to commit. On the other side of this is Punarvasu moon native Keanu Reeves playing a young, handsome, thoughtful doctor who loves her playwriting and immediately begins to try to court her, to buy her flowers, and treat her with a ton of attention and care, totally contrasting the neglect with which the sun man treats her.
How are you holding up?
Me?
You?
Well, I'm fine. Fine.
One more fine and I won't believe you.
Ultimately, she completely stands him up and rejects him as she frantically obsesses over the sun man who would seem in every way less desirable.
You have one new message. Message 1.
Erica, hi, it's Julian. I'm in the restaurant and just wondering if you're on your way. It's about 8:20. It's a lovely night out here. It's nice.
And do you think Bruce Willis would be happy just being friends?
You walk right up to her, you dangle this over her head, and then you slap your spaghetti suckers right on her.
I don't know if that's appropriate.
Then you give her a nice smack on the caboose and tell her what a lucky girl she is.
No, don't listen to that part, all right?
Don't listen to
Look
that
at me.
part.
Look at me. You want to be like Brad and be in the friend zone? You want to be like Dad and get in the end zone?
I like Brad way more. I just want to be your friend and listen to our problems.
Okay, you may be a great guy, but you were never gonna be that guy to Avery.
I care about you, but I just don't have those kind of feelings for you.
The friend zoning of a Jupiter man by a moon woman is also found in The First Time.
Definitely my best guy friend. He's just, he's always been there for me through all my terrible relationships and shit. He's so smart. You should see the way he is with his sister. His sister? Yeah, she's 5. He's like super involved in her life. It's just that most guys our age are completely self-absorbed. God, I am so sick of these arrogant jagweeds. All I want is once for one of these boys to just like ask me a question, like my opinion or how I'm doing. Because at this point, if one of them were to like open the door for me, I would be so freaking shocked. I would probably fall over.
You can also see this take place in When We First Met, a film in which a man goes back in time over and over to try to escape her friend zoning. In both, while the Jupiter man is adoring a moon woman, he meets a more heated polarity woman who does appreciate him.
Maybe we could lie here for a minute and I could just close my eyes. Is that okay?
Scott Pilgrim is about a Jupiter man falling desperately for a moon woman, needing to fight constantly to be with her by battling her 7 exes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Am I dreaming? I'll leave you alone forever now. Thanks.
Interestingly, in regards to Jupiter's nature as the nourisher, this film is symbolically representing what a person has to go through when they enter a relationship with someone who has a lot of past baggage and trauma. A sun man trampling over female nature is also contrasted against the sensitivity and eloquence of a Jupiter man in The Odd Couple, in which 2 divorced men with totally opposite attitudes about their children and ex-wives live together. The sun man really hates his ex-wife.
Hello, Blanche. How are you? Yeah, I got a pretty good idea why you're calling. I'm a week behind with the check, right? 4 weeks, it's not possible.
And doesn't even recognize his child's voice on the phone.
Dabby? Dabby who?
All right, come on.
No, there's no Dabby here. Oh, Daddy! For crying out loud, it's my kid.
The Jupiter man, on the other hand, cannot help but speak mercifully and fondly of his ex-wife.
No, it's so refreshing to hear a man speak so highly of the woman he's divorcing.
Even after she divorced him, and he gave her all that they had with no fight at all.
That's my little boy and girl. He's 7, and she's 5.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah?
Oh.
They live with their mother.
Oh, I imagine you must miss them terribly.
Well, I can't stand being away from them.
When do you get to see them?
Every night, I drop by on the way home. And I take them on weekends. I get them on holidays. July and August.
Oh. Well, when is it that you miss them?
Whenever I'm not there.
If they didn't have to go to school so early, I'd get up and make them breakfast. They love my French toast.
Oh, well, you certainly are a devoted father.
Well, it's Frances who's the wonderful one.
And she's the little girl.
You know, she's the mother,
Oh.
my wife.
What, the one you're divorcing?
Yeah, she's done a terrific job in bringing them up. They always looks so nice. She's a wonderful woman. She's the kind of a woman who... What am I doing? You're not interested in any of this. I gave her everything. My children. And the lamps.
The film highlights the Sun Man living a happy bachelor life, hitting on women, smoking and drinking, playing poker late into the night, having a sparse and dirty house, and the Jupiter Man having his ex-wife and kids as the center of his life, being a good cook and knowing how to make the house more comfortable.
I used to love to come home at night. It's my whole life. My wife and my kids and my apartment.
In the show Downton Abbey, a sweet and pure double Jupiter native sacrifices himself for his friend in war, diving in front of a bullet. Throughout the first seasons, he is friend-zoned by a woman who is crushing instead on his Sun Man co-worker, which I showed earlier. Even though she doesn't love him, on his deathbed he asks her to marry him so that she can benefit from the government resources given to war widows, so that he can know that she will be taken care of after he's gone. There is also an interplay shown here between Jupiter and Sun, in that the Sun Man character constantly berates the Jupiter Man for openly displaying emotions and sensitivity.
Is there nothing left on Earth that you respect?
Look at him. Blimey, if he carries on like this for the unborn baby of a woman who scarcely knows his name, no wonder he fell to pieces when his old mum snuffed it.
Is everybody happy? What the hell happened?
Nothing. His total lack of masculinity. I mean, his weak chin and soft underbelly influencing your son. You're good there too, yeah?
You know what? I'm just feeling like, guys, maybe you might want a little privacy.
These men are also often shamed by other men for the sensitivity they display towards how women feel.
She had the biggest tits I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah, I heard she got breast reduction surgery.
What? Making your tits smaller? That's like slapping God across the face for giving you a gorgeous gift.
She had back problems, man. And it's not just making them smaller, they completely reshape them. They make them more supple and symmetrical.
Or what will make the woman feel nourished, sometimes being called things like simps. So friend-zoning also occurs for Jupiter men in iconic films like Pretty in Pink.
I don't want you to worry, because my only future plans are to make sure that she's taken care of.
I mean, you can love Andy, but that doesn't mean she's going to love you back.
You're gonna go out with this guy? I mean, is this like a date or?
Yeah. I mean, you like him. He's not like the other guys.
The Punarvasu actor was friend-zoned throughout almost all the seasons of Zoe 101.
From the first second he saw her, Chase had a huge crush on Zoe. And it was more than just a crush. Chase and Zoe were best friends, too.
Tons of comments pointed out the apparent friend zone in which Instagram model Summer Rae was said to have trapped the Jupiter native Rice Gum.
Like, until the other day, everybody thought that you were dating Rice Gum, so I guess you guys broke up?
Me and Rice have just been best friends.
Jupiter amongst the planets rules the excess that you give to more delicate beings like your wife or children, so women instinctively know that the soft cushion and padding in life that these men naturally provide to those around them is cosmically meant for her comfort. And that is where the friend zone comes in as well, with the way women will take from these men in a range of ways without feeling guilt about it. She is receiving, and in doing so is helping him fulfill his cosmic Jupiterian role, which relates to the way that the fire pit in which one offers the Jupiter substance of ghee is correlated to the yoni, consuming energy and offerings. It is a healthy reductive force for him, and that's why most men view having the opportunity to give energy to women sexually as a privilege or pleasure, but with Jupiter it expresses more than usual through generosity with resources, kindness, or attention. Because Jupiter is meant to be a protector and expander for other planets, it can feel for these men that the universe is constantly finding more sources to burn and break down his abundance as fuel for their own growth. In that way, they're the true nice guy, not the false nice guy whose kindness goes away as soon as he realizes you aren't going to give into sex with him. These men will generally remain kind more inexhaustibly, almost compulsively. And because Jupiter preserves innocence, it doesn't take advantage of dependency or weakness. Its natural inclination is to respect things that are of a gentler nature than it is, or that display any kind of vulnerability.
To the respect of women, to people respecting women.
Okay. Yeah.
Dear friend, I am writing to you because she said you listen and understand and didn't try to sleep with that person at that party even though you could have.
But she's totally hammered, and if I get with her and I'm not drunk, isn't that, like, unethical?
And watch your hands, Mr. Kirkby.
I beg your pardon? Aunt Kublik. Boy, would I like to get her on a slow elevator to China. She just won't give me a tumble, date-wise.
Maybe you're using the wrong approach.
Yeah, a lot of guys around here have tried it. All kinds of approaches. No dice. What's she trying to prove?
Well, could be she's just a nice, respectable girl. There's millions of them.
Listen to him. Little Lord Fauntleroy.
The benefics are genuinely polarized to actually just like someone more and be more interested in them if it can give to them, whereas the malefics can oftentimes become hostile when they sense something is taking from them. Because Jupiter men are distant from lust and passion, instead of choosing a relationship, a lot of the time they fall into one, based on who is most insistent on being with them.
Say I do.
No.
Say I do.
They're very passive to romantic circumstance. The friend zone shows that when they want something, they have trouble expressing it. They're often stuck there just because they never get up the courage to admit their feelings, or they don't ever want to impose regarding their own desires or needs in an interaction.
Then why didn't you ever ask me out?
I just didn't think that you wanted that.
Well, what did you want?
Furthermore, when they don't necessarily want something, they also often can't assert their need in that case either. If something starts to want to link onto them, they don't have the energetic mechanism very developed which would cut that thing off. The level of putting others' needs before theirs oftentimes becomes almost self-destructive. In this way, sometimes unions for them feel more obligatory and less passion-based. The woman that they want didn't respond because they didn't know how to properly assert. They have no polarity with or even dump or reject women who don't express much need for them, and instead they end up frequently with more controlling women or women who needed them the most. The more need they are presented with, the more trouble they have activating inner severity. The depths of polarity and energetic interaction that activate when they encounter someone with a lot of needs tends to far outweigh the amount of polarity they can activate through passionate love, and that's where the unromantic aspect of this planet comes in. In early life, these men are often shown as doing soft romantic things like making mixtapes.
So I've been making her a mixtape so she will know how I feel.
Also, that mix CD that I left on your doorstep was the last one that I'll be making for you. More or less.
But that kind of goes away as time goes on, and they don't often end up in relationships that are necessarily romantic. Or they are victimized by the different problems with women that I've begun to explore.
You made another one. Look at the ridiculous cover art.
And they learn that that isn't necessarily what a lot of women actually respond to or are satisfied by.
Why do nice people choose the wrong people to date? Can we make them know that they deserve more?
The film Perks of Being a Wallflower depicts the way that the Jupiter man is so habitually rooted in tolerance and responding to the desires of others that he doesn't even consider the idea of breaking up with someone that he genuinely doesn't like, who is very controlling.
Door opens, it's my
I
parents.
probably should have been honest about how I didn't want to go out with Mary Elizabeth after Sadie's, but I really didn't want to hurt her feelings. You see, Mary Elizabeth is a really nice person underneath the part of her that hates everyone. I tried hard to love her like I love Sam.
Can you believe it's almost our 2-week anniversary?
Yeah, I know. So I took her on double dates.
First foreign film.
Do you want butter on your popcorn?
Vegans don't eat butter.
And I tried not to mind that she loves to hold hands even when her hands are sweaty. Or if she would stop calling me the minute I get home from school when I have absolutely nothing to talk about other than the bus ride home. Somehow she finds new things to say.
That dairy just sits with you, you know, it walks with you.
She's on the phone right now? Charlie, you've got to break up with her.
I can do that?
And he also seems oblivious to the concept of asserting on the woman that he actually desires. Similarly, in Scott Pilgrim, Michael Cera ends up casually dating 2 girls at once, primarily just from the way that the idea of breaking up with the first girl completely agonizes him.
Game over.
Do you want to keep going?
Continue. 9, 8,
I think
7, 6, 5,
I think
4, 3,
we should
1.
The fourth house, the natural house of Cancer, where Jupiter is exalted, is known as Bandhu Bhava, which means binding. This is the same binding that is used for locking things, but also for the binding of the sacrificial victim. In my Ashlesha video, I discussed Ashlesha as a nakshatra in Cancer relating to knots and binding. I showed the way their yoni consort, Punarvasu, is most frequently depicted as bound or paralyzed, as a symbol for being unable to unwind feminine sexual energy through never asserting, a symbol that often extends to the other Jupiter-nakshatras as well. It was also shown in those Ashlesha films, men being cucked or abused in other ways through her sexual restlessness ramping up until she unwillingly becomes the dominating one. This is like how they are often bound into a romantic union with whoever asserted on them. They then become a kind of sacrificial victim for the happiness of someone else.
You can't just sit there and put everybody's lives ahead of yours and think that counts as love.
For the same reason that they bear burdens, as well as why we offer ghee into the fire to atone. Because these men vibrate at the level of ghee and Jupiter, they are set up to be offered to others, which is why Purva Bhadrapada in particular has so much to do with the idea of the scapegoat and offerings into the fire, which I'll talk more about again shortly. Spirituality is the upward movement of energy out of the material world. This is why women are usually the majority consumer population in spiritual fields like astrology, tarot, or yoga, and are more graceful energetically and refined in behavior because their energy naturally flows inward and upward. Jupiter, as a very refined planet, grants its male natives energy that moves more naturally upward as well. They also don't feel constant temptation to drain themselves, which is how they end up with so much accumulation. This also reflects in the possession of what might be considered a more feminine libido, one that requires a larger emotional connection.
I've been kind of getting some mixed signals from you lately.
Yeah?
Sort of. Clears that up.
And I reserve the right to change my mind about the sex later.
Well, this is nice, just this.
And also a libido that feels more of an inclination to respond to pursuit.
Are you okay?
I so flirt with you in math.
Tell me about it. Samesies. I've wanted to tell you for so long that you're the best
I know.
girl.
I've wanted to get with you like so hard. Like so hard.
I just want to make sure that the first person who kisses you loves you. Okay?
I wanted to slip into something a little more comfortable.
They're also often shown as being best friends with gay men, even when they're straight, due to their tendency to embrace more sensitivity, to be artistic, as I'll discuss later, to be embracing towards others.
So get your clothes on, we're gonna play this gig, and then we're gonna find you something better, okay? Someone better. Yes.
It's not that easy, guys. You don't know what it's like to be straight, okay? It's awful.
Jersey's only source for indie rock.
And to be much less sensitive about emasculation than other men.
I just need to meet a good guy.
So another difficulty that comes up for them due to their agreeableness is the tendency to be in unions with someone who is very controlling, and two films depict this in similar ways. In Saving Silverman, two men try to rescue their Jupiter friend from an intense controlling relationship. Meanwhile, he's still in love with a Ketu woman from high school, and it's her influence that eventually inspires him to follow his heart.
I love Sandy.
You're in love with this slut?
I am not a slut. I'm not a tramp. We're in love.
Sandy is my one and only someone.
Michael Cera dates a controlling woman for months in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, only to find out that she's been cheating on him the entire time.
I was with the guy for 6 months, so...
Yes, and you cheated on him for 6 months, so...
He meets a Ketu woman who has been secretly crushing on him.
He makes the best mixes in the world. Look at this cover art. Trish does not know what she gave up.
And she is the one who frees him from the unhealthy relationship that he was in. A scene in Nick and Nora is an especially good illustration of the way women, and even other men, awaken more virile qualities in themselves in the more passive presence of Jupiter men. In a car with most male types, a woman would usually feel more that she had to fend off his advances or prepare for his pursuit. With a Jupiter man, she instead activates a more aggressive and overtly seductive part of herself because she feels safety and knows that she won't have to fend anything off even if she acts very sexual.
I feel so safe here. Like when I was a kid driving home with my parents from some trip somewhere, and I couldn't help but fall asleep. It's like I was already home. That's how you feel, Nikki. Like I'm already home.
Oh, I'm sorry I had sex with you. I know it wasn't like your idea.
Whose idea was it?
I'll see you at school, all right?
Whose idea was it?
In that case, she instead gets more curious and churned to get to experience this dominant side of herself, and that's why Jupiter men also tend to have an appeal where women describe them particularly as cute or adorable.
I think he's the dearest thing I've ever met. He's so sensitive, so fragile. I just want to bundle him up in my arms and take care of him.
So because these men are cosmically inclined to not stand up for themselves, they experience abuse in a large range of ways.
The guy actually cried. I made guys cry before, but it really broke him.
Even to where, on a more sensitive topic, they are shown as being the masculine when it faces sexual abuse, such as in Perks of Being a Wallflower, where a young Jupiter man is sexually abused by his aunt. Michael Cera is often shown being put into situations where he is being pressured into sexual encounters that he isn't comfortable with but tolerates due to kindness.
So I'd kind of like to be home for this. Huh?
You ticklish?
No.
Huh? You ticklish right there? You ticklish up here? You're laughing. You must be ticklish. Go up the ladder a little bit. I'm ticklish right here. Give me a tickle. Give me a little tickle. Give me a little tickle. Come on. Give me a tickle. Tickle it. Tickle my thigh. What are your hobbies?
So this is the sexual facet of that almost martyr-like compulsion that these men feel to let the needs of others supersede their own preferences or wishes due to Jupiter's belief in helping others as well as not acting on one's own desires. So they're taken advantage of or abused in a range of ways, physically, materially, or sexually, by anyone willing to impose on those who won't safeguard their own energetic boundaries.
I kill them. That's what I love about you. You punch back. I was never really one to put up a fight. It's the ones like us that don't punch back that people really take advantage of. You know, they rub your nose in it just a little bit more. I don't know why they do that. Maybe it makes them feel powerful.
It's just that I'm the kind of guy who can't say no. I don't mean to girls. I mean,
You mean to someone like Mr. Sheldrake?
I guess so.
I know so. He's a taker.
A what?
Some people take, some people get took. And they know they're getting took, and there's nothing they can do about it.
So the cheating element shown in the Tara myth happens because of the forgiving energy of Jupiter. His partner will often want and appreciate the abundance and mercy, but also crave the carnal pleasure that they don't necessarily find in Jupiter's nature. Even when he's pouring everything into a woman, if there is not a strong carnal spark, she can become dissatisfied, because as conduits of Venus overarchingly, most women deeply desire to be truly sensually enjoyed and experienced viscerally.
Relationships are all about energy and attraction and intangible things beyond your control.
In the film Anything Else, an unpredictable Ketu woman and a Jupiter man fall for each other. However, as the relationship progresses, she completely stops having sex with him for months, explaining that she loves him but can't feel any excitement from him, largely due to his sweet qualities.
Sometimes I think it's because you remind me of my father.
You once told me that you thought your father was sexually attractive.
Well, that's not the part of him that you remind me of.
Oh, it's not, then what is it then?
You know, sweet and supportive.
Gee, I'm sorry I have so many turn-off qualities I didn't realize.
She goes so far as to fake a panic attack to avoid having sex with him, while she quickly responds sexually to many other men that she cheats on him with.
The doctor had better sex examining her than I've had in 6 months. She has this wayward appeal. Men go instantly crazy for her.
Okay, I slept with Ron Keller. I didn't do it because I care about him. I did it because I had to find out if there was something wrong with me. You know, because I can't sleep with you, the person that I love. I had to know if I could even get aroused anymore and have an orgasm.
And can you?
Yeah, it's good news, I can.
How could you need me when all of these positive feelings happen with everybody but me?
Not everybody, just Ron Keller.
Oh.
He reminds me of my father.
I remind you of your father.
You remind me of the good parts. He just reminds me of the bad.
Consistent with Jupiter's traditional significations, he always takes her back when she explains that she truly needs him. This film shows the Ketu-Jupiter interplay as well, with her directing the expenditure of his wealth shamelessly.
We can let you have a single room for $200 a night.
200, wow, it's amazing how even the cheapest ones have gone up, huh?
Well, let's not get a single. It's so sleazy. We're trying to be romantic.
You're right. You're right. Now, do you have a small suite?
A small suite?
Yeah, very, very small.
Let me check.
Can you pay for the cab? I forgot my wallet.
Pay for the cab. Are you getting the picture already?
Ketu grants its natives with an antagonism towards storing comforts, making them very forceful and insistent on their partner distributing his abundance, not just to her, but to other people.
Thank you. The good one.
How much did you give him?
$3.
Not 5?
Here, come on. Come on. Here.
Leave a tip for the maid.
Ketu's own sign is Pisces, so this planet has a special affiliation with giving away excess. And again, that is actually cosmically balancing to Jupiter men, and it is what they unconsciously are seeking, someone to help them distribute their heavy surplus. Combining a few of these things, in the film I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell, there is a traumatized Jupiter man who has been cheated on by his last girlfriend.
Wow, look at this place. It's a shrine to cuckoldry and rage. Can you imagine a threesome with these two? I can imagine them both cheating on me.
He meets a stripper who can have Ashwini Moon and starts dating her and fathering her son.
Have this.
A GI blog keychain.
Bob was the field commander for all the soldiers that went into battle. He was my favorite when I was your age.
Wow.
Did you just give your Bob keychain to a whore baby? She's not a whore.
Along with Michael Cera's Nick and Nora role, Scott Pilgrim also begins with him traumatized over having been cheated on by his last girlfriend, as does Daniel Radcliffe's What If.
You've been single since that douchebag Megan broke your fragile little heart.
Okay.
Jim Carrey's Vishaka Ascendant is emphasized in Me, Myself, and Irene, where his Ashwini Moon wife immediately begins cheating on him the day they get married, and he lovingly raises the children produced through her affair after she abandons all of them.
Charlie loved those boys so much, he just couldn't face the truth. And so he went on with his life as if everything was normal. Bye-bye!
Bye, Daddy. Have a good time at work.
You're having an affair with Steve Walsh. He's wonderful. He's clever. He's smart. He's fabulously wealthy.
I know. There was a highly publicized situation with the Smith family where it was revealed that Jada had cheated on Will.
We actually became really, really good friends. And it all started with him just needing some help. And we found all those different resources, to help pull him through. And I got into an entanglement with August. That's what I said.
An entanglement?
Yes. Yes.
A relationship?
Yes.
He gave me his blessing.
He'd then forgiven her for this and had dealt with public shaming about it as well.
Now I got to be with you at the press conference while you tell the world about your transgressions. I love my baby. I'm gonna stand by my baby no matter what.
Many people expressed that they could see him holding a lot of pain about it. In Talladega Nights, double MAGA native Leslie Bibb is married to Will Ferrell, playing a famous race car driver, Ricky Bobby.
His injuries are minor, but right now he can't deal with the trauma of the wreck.
Golly, this is a hard decision, but I have thought about it, and I want the plug pulled. Yeah.
Ma'am, your husband's not dying. He's just taking a nap.
Look at him. Look at him. I've never seen him make that noise, ever.
When he struggles with his mental health and loses his career, she quickly leaves him for his Purva Bhadrapada best friend, Cal, who has stolen Ricky's career and money and even moves into Ricky's house. I'll mention in a slide in a minute how this relates to the Purva Bhadrapada stage, and there's a section at the end of this video about that too. So the way Ricky Bobby lets him move in, lets his wife take all the money, doesn't even put up basically any fight, and is still compulsively kind to both of them, parallels The Odd Couple.
Hello.
Hey man,
What?
you up?
No.
Wake up, I need to talk to you. I think your house is haunted.
Hey, come on, it's 2:30 in the morning.
I can't sleep in here, man. I'm scared.
Look, there's nothing to be scared of. It's a new house. There's a lot of creaks and moans and groans in it.
I miss you, bro.
Hey, I don't know why I'm talking to you. Do you remember that I hate you?
Hey, one more thing.
Yeah?
When you have the stereo on at the same time as the TV, how do you control the volume on the TV?
Why do you want to listen to the TV with the stereo on?
Because I like to party.
You know what, man? Why am I still talking to you?
Come on, we were doing good there, man. I'm taking care of your house good.
I keep snapping back into it. It's like a trick you're pulling on me.
All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, man. Talk to you tomorrow.
A few of these things really beautifully layered together can be considered in the film Casino, directed by, written, and starring double Jupiter natives. Robert De Niro plays a talented and intelligent man, but who uses these skills to support a life involved in crime. He marries Ginger, played by Sharon Stone, who can have mega ascendant based on a C-rated birth time. Ginger spends endless amounts of his money and benefits from the comfort he provides. However, no matter how much money and care he gives Ginger, believing it will eventually make her love him, she acts virile and non-submissive towards him while being devotional, loving, and vulnerable towards the harsh pimp that she met as a teen, that she's cheating on him with and giving his money to.
I love you.
But baby, do you know that I love you too?
No, Lester.
Do you know that?
Yeah. This is the best thing I can do for my life right now.
That's right. So it's gonna be okay, isn't it?
Promise.
God, I wish you all the luck in the world.
Do?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's the best thing you can do right now. I mean this. You'll have real security. Come on, this is great for us. You know, I'm always gonna be here for you. I ain't going no place. Huh?
She also eventually cheats on De Niro with his own close friend. Similar to Anything Else, and highlighting the antagonism between the feminine libido and Jupiter energy that I explored in my Ashleisha video, she binds him under her while remaining unbound herself. The way Jupiter men's tolerance and generosity is often taken advantage of is shown in that these two insult him and betray him, say he causes them trouble.
Oh, he really fucked himself up out here, didn't he? Sure did. Everything went to his head. Changed. He did. He ain't the same person, right? He's not. He really thinks who the fuck he is, I'll tell you that.
When he's really the main thing keeping them both afloat, protecting them from punishment for their wild actions, providing them funding, and so on throughout the film.
You're a beautiful woman. You're destroying yourself. You don't need that stuff. You don't need that fucking leech living off you. I know you better than you know yourself. You're a tiger. You're stronger than I am. And when you set your mind on doing something, you do it better than anybody.
No matter how much De Niro knows over and over she's stealing from and cheating on him, abusing intoxicants, being an abusive mother, and even kidnapping their daughter with the pimp.
Of course I've tried. What the fuck do you think I came back here for? No, I'm not. I want him killed. Yes, I want him killed. I fucking had it. So are you with me on this?
When she comes back home at night and crawls into bed upset, he can't help but comfort her and forgive her again.
The funny thing was, after all that, I didn't want her to go. She was the mother of my kid. I loved her. I'm not going to ask you where you are. Just please, put Amy on a plane. Just put her on right away. Any plane to get her here right away, please. That's all I'm asking.
I mean, I don't think she should go by herself.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, do you think if I came back, do you think you could forgive me?
The father archetype comes out when it's really only when he feels the child is in danger that he's willing to activate a more totally severe part of his nature.
I mean, she's only sober about 2 hours a day. It's usually from 11 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon. And if I gave her money and her jewels, now you know what she's going to do. She's going to piss it all away in about a year, and then where will she be? Where would you be then? Coming right back to me. Right back to me. Or finding some other excuse to come. Look in my eyes. You know me. Do you see anything in these eyes that makes you think I would ever let someone in your condition take my child away from me?
It's interesting too that Scorsese depicts women spending money lavishly in many films when considering that he himself is a Jupiter-dominant native. These men often gain experiences over and over in life where they only ever see women acting this way, using him for something other than fulfilling passion and love. But at the same time, it has to be understood that it's because comfort, material stability, tolerance, and a padded life is often the main thing he's offering, and he's quite closed off from his own passion. So due to his disconnection from his own passion, she doesn't connect to him passionately or sexually. In response to offering tolerance and lavishness, you will of course set yourself up to encounter more chaotic behavior and materialism. Scorsese emphasizes that perspective in films by showing that the man knowingly entered that relationship, using his wealth as leverage in the first place.
I don't love you anymore, Jordan! You don't love me anymore, huh? Well, isn't that just fucking convenient for you? Now that I'm under federal indictment with an electronic bracelet around my ankle, now you decide you don't fucking love me anymore.
No,
is that right?
no.
What kind of person are you? Tell me.
You married me. I'm going. I want my money right now.
Don't get your money. Don't worry.
The arrangement is over.
No kidding. No kidding!
And I still get my money. I need some cash right now. You can't just put me in the street.
You know, you haven't been straight with me ever since I met you. You never even loved me in the first place.
How can I love you? Treat me like I'm your fucking dog.
And after all this time, and as hard as I tried, as much as I wanted, I could never make her love me.
While Venus is the Karaka of the 7th house of unions, Jupiter is the Karaka of the 5th house of children and 11th house of wide social network. Jupiter tends to feel pressure to just give to all people in a non-sexual way, similar to how Sun wants to give to many women in a sexual way and not be bound. With Sun, it's more about themselves. They really are enjoying the pleasure of their own discharge, and in that way they belong to everyone but really to no one. While Jupiter is more concerned with the nourishing of the being that it gives to, and so gives to everyone, and can often also begin to feel like it belongs to everyone. Now, in terms of the virginity element that I mentioned earlier, this can be considered in a positive light through Ayurveda. Jupiter men succeed very well at the initial stage of life where you are meant to be a brahmacharya up until age 25. This is the time in your life where you are meant to be very sattvic, studying, channeling all of your energy into your intellectual and spiritual development. You avoid drinking and sexual encounters, as when you're developing, these things in Ayurveda are said to be more harmful or dangerous to you, especially up until age 25. Jupiter men are often the naturally most successful in an all-around manner, as I'll explore shortly, because of their natural propensity for developing at this stage in life, and then they just struggle to move into the indulging the senses phase of Venus. So they do accumulate knowledge and money, etc., but then they just need to later in life tap into their sensuality more to have a completion of flavors and have happiness in the realm of romance as well, and value their own preferences. This is why it's important to understand that each sign has its own unique challenges and strengths, and the key is to balancing yourself out to where you go beyond any limitations of your type as a man or a woman and enjoy the strengths. Each planet in interacting with Jupiter will distribute Jupiter in different ways, which is why you can distribute ghee to any planet you're worshipping, but the best thing to give your ghee to is Venus, Shri. That's why Lakshmi is said to be the final goal, but you give to the other planets when you need or are lacking in something in particular, such as if you needed protection, so you gave to Mars to protect you. Worshipping Venus is then powerful for Jupiter men in particular because they have that accumulation, and if they just learn to indulge their senses and be balanced, they're really well off. This is why Jupiter's final nakshatra, Purva Bhadrapada, gets so interested in Tantra and occultism, which the Venus nakshatras enjoy, and is the only Jupiter nakshatra that is fierce like the Venus nakshatras. Purva Bhadrapada then has those cosmic elements of grappling more with activating the animal nature and facing it, as well as this is where a lot more fierceness and competitiveness activates within them, specifically in the field of occultism, because spirituality and religion is something most important to them. Ketu is the default energy that comes to force these men to be drained of their excess through giving donations due to its 12th house and liberation connections. But Venus also has 12th house connections, such as it being exalted in Pisces and ruling expenditure on luxury items and enjoyments. If these men practice Tantra, awaken their own sensorial enjoyment and passion. It can be very balancing for them and help them to distribute their excess in a healthy way aligned with their own will that doesn't exploit them. Jupiter is one's urges to follow the cosmic order and even to just acquiesce to any negative situation because it is the most gentle and sattvic planet. This, however, is the main reason why it is said that if you're not perfected and you're at all impure and you worship or increase sattvic energies in your life without purifying the tamasic energy through using rajaistic energy of passion, you nourish the impurities with the sattva. In Chinese medicine, for example, it is said that if you have parasites, you cannot eat things that are the sweet taste or do energy cultivating, or you'll end up nourishing the parasites attached to you. Due to people freeloading off of Jupiter men, the people they fuel can become grotesque and attached to their vices. This is similar to the example that I talked about in more detail in the Purva Bhadrapada video, where a person is so sattvic that even when a disease comes in, they just merge with and support the disease. And this unpalatable aspect is also the mechanism behind diseases that are anabolic in nature, such as cancer and tumors being associated with Jupiter and Jyotish, because if one cannot discharge or let energy out of the body effectively, the anabolic aspect of the body can nurture foreign energies within the body that cause it to be colonized. The deal with the devil encounter element that I've explored with Purva Bhadrapada, in which they hold tolerance and mercy for themselves, also expresses itself subtly through all Jupiter men in a different way, and that they become almost this deal with the devil embodied as a person for those around them. They are someone willing to give you padding, wealth, and support with no corrosive element or harshness. They will feel some cosmic sense of obligation to support you while you fill yourself with drugs, party endlessly, lay around and be lazy, spend money irresponsibly, crash cars, and things like that. So they don't really have any shaping or punishing element that forces others to act well in their presence. Energetically, they, like the deal with the devil, support your vices through their tolerance and enable your weaknesses. They can end up growing the people around them into something more monstrous and uncontrolled than what that person would have been capable of alone. Jupiter men can be like a sanctuary in which you engage in misdeeds, to where this planet even presents freeing philosophies defending any behavior in his height nakshatra. They expand anything, good or bad, just as Jupiter expands the negative significations of the house he is placed in when he is in a difficult or harsh house. Jupiter natives protect you from the negative consequences of your own actions, and in that way can end up stripping you of the growth that comes through the pain of your failures. Casino highlights the danger in Jupiterian tolerance and support. Before marrying him, Ginger was quite powerful and strong through having to support herself.
She was a queen around the casino. Who didn't want Ginger? She was one of the best known, best liked, and most respected hustlers in town. Smart hustlers like her could keep a guy awake for 2 or 3 days before sending him home broke to the little woman and his bank examiners.
As the years go by while she's with him and getting so much money and mercy from him, she becomes more chaotic, an alcoholic and drug addict. She has his money to fund these habits and has his softness to keep her from facing any consequences of them.
After Ginger took off, she wasn't much help to anybody. She found some pimps, lowlifes, druggies, and bikers in LA, and in a few months they went through all the money and all the jewels.
When she finally leaves him, the delayed consequences of her wild habits quickly come crashing down on her. The padding in which she had been insulated from reality was removed, and she was rapidly and forcefully put back in touch with reality, realigned with the harsh truth. And in that contemplation is the secret danger of the benefic planets, their dasha periods, and those who embody them on Earth.
If I had cloven hooves and a pointed tail, would you be more convinced?
Jupiter relates to expansive, elevated knowledge and also has a strong level of artistic intelligence. However, practical mental discrimination and cunning is a trait of Mercury, the Rashis of which sit opposite both of the Jupiter Rashis. Jupiter is so elevated and refined that while being intelligent, it can at times be seen as something lacking street smarts, in the sense of not having any manipulative traits and being quite trusting. Its cosmic position to give to others is a task which requires someone being optimistic rather than sharp, suspicious, or skeptical about others.
Another family drawing.
Oh no, I am so sorry.
No, I think you're misunderstanding. This is the first drawing where I'm not dead already. Sure, I've got a knife in my eye and some homeless man poop on my head, but this is showing real progress. I think she's starting to accept me.
You can find the good in just about anything. I love that about you.
It always gives people the benefit of the doubt and keeps its judgment generally quiet.
Look, your car misses me. It's falling apart without me.
But you just did that.
Oh, come on. Are you really over me?
As a refined planet, it is able to judge the quality of things around it and does oftentimes have a certain unspoken air of superiority in regards to art or taste, similar to the benefic Venus. But Jupiter as the Lord of Mercy isn't set up to act on judgment, but rather to be tolerant about the shortcomings or even the possible ill intentions of others. They're used to just absorbing the blows of those around them, like how the body's toxins are stored in the fat tissue. In this way, as a planet, Jupiter is prone to being a victim of manipulations or schemes, taken advantage of, and even being gullible in certain ways due to his blindness to the flaws or bad intentions in others.
And I'm going to tell you something I had previously decided not to. I came up here for a reason. In fact, I'll be quite honest, I came up to solicit $25,000 from you.
To bring more tangibility to this, the film we need to talk about Kevin is about the childhood of Kevin, a future mass murderer played by an Ashwini native. Kevin's mother senses and notices the inhuman and psychopathic tendencies in her child. However, his Jupiterian father, played by John C. Reilly, is only able to see the positive in Kevin, is always tolerant of and willing to ignore anything strange he does, and is completely trusting of the goodness in his son. His optimism about the situation makes his wife doubt herself and never get help for her child. It drives home the way that as beneficial as expansion seems, when expansion and enabling support with no severity is applied to the wrong things, it can have very negative and dangerous consequences, which is why the malefics are so important. Having a tendency towards nurturing the growth and ego in others, this also expresses itself in having very self-deprecating humor, putting oneself subtly down to elevate the confidence of those around you.
Oh, don't play that humble game with me.
He's so humble. He's just too humble.
In this way, Jupiter tends to be the natural friend-companion archetype to Rahu men, who are primary critics or those who make jokes at the expense of others.
The most rewarding part of our friendship is your ability to find amusement in the destruction of my life. It's not that bad, dude.
If you reflect on the internal chaos of Ketu women and their presence in tropes such as drug overdoses or other inner hardships, Rahu men tend to be the male equivalent to this. While women seem to struggle in some ways under the energy of Ketu, men seem to struggle under the energy of Rahu, and I've explored before that well-known examples of celebrity overdoses or chaotic deaths in men are very much concentrated towards those with Rahu nakshatras. So it could be inferred that Ketu women and Rahu men are the ones most desiring comfort and mercy. Jupiter men are the most willing to give it, and so accumulate friendships and relationships with these nodal planets who are more in need of this unconditional love. This plays out in our lives where Rahu dashas are a time of instability and anxiety, and gentle Jupiter dashas follow this to bring us rejuvenation and comfort from the strain and upheaval that Rahu caused.
You know, Becca dated Eric Rosecrans for like 2 years.
Yeah, but that guy's a fucking idiot. You're actually a step up from that dick load. That's why you need to stop being a... Will you get this for me? That's why you need to stop being a pussy and nail her, okay?
Films depict the Rahu-Jupiter man connection many times. The harsh, overthinking, conceptual Rahuvian with certain levels of inner insecurity and desire for someone to accept them, with the gentle, logical, and thoughtful Jupiter man.
Stop this madness. Let's go get some dessert.
No, I can't. I gotta go meet my counselor. I'm picking up my classes for next year.
What, so I gotta sit here and eat dessert alone like I'm fucking Steven Glansberg?
Yeah, I mean, what do you want me to do?
I don't know. No then, it's fine.
Relax, man. I'll see you later.
It's fine. I'll be fine.
Rahu men tend to be hyper-socially aware, more calculated and deliberate, pained in the sense of being very concerned with outer labels, whether they are rejecting or enforcing them.
Hey, pussy. So, the whole 17-year-old thing, don't tell too many people. Hey, you know me. I mean, don't tell my sister. You know me. Who are you texting?
17 years old, scandal.
That's not true. Who told you?
Wallace, duh.
That gossipy bitch. You know me.
Wallace!
This connection can be seen in Superbad and in the chemistry between Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell in Daddy's Home and The Other Guys, where Wahlberg is always trying conceptually to appear tough or masculine while Ferrell just embraces sensitivity. Daddy's Home is a particularly interesting example astrologically, because in the first one they contrast the Jupiter versus Rahu man, but in the second one, Sunman Mel Gibson enters the picture as Mark Wahlberg's dad. While Rahu seemed to emasculate Jupiter in the first film, this artificial exterior that Rahu creates is pulled back when he faces emasculation in the second Daddy's Home, as it's revealed how actually self-conscious and calculated Wahlberg is, and how much of what he is doing to seem tough is to try to live up to the Sunman archetype.
Listen to me. I think you're approaching this with way too much negative energy.
Brad, you don't know what you're talking about, so shut your fat hole!
Dusty. Sorry, Brady. I'm sorry. You see what he does to me? I mean, he's not even here yet, and he's already ruining Christmas. Okay, relax.
Relax, man. I'll see you later.
Relax. I can't. Look, your father hasn't met the new evolved Dusty. You're a progressive, sensitive, child-first parent.
That's exactly the stuff he's gonna make fun of us for. You'll see. He's gonna scoff at everything we do. He's a scoffer, Brad.
Same old Mr. Touchy. I love it.
Just as it is said in myth that Rahu is jealous of the sun and tries to swallow it. In Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, John Candy is depicted as the almost idiotically kind salesman that the sharp-minded and critical Rahu man Steve Martin meets during his travels.
It's like going on a date with a chatty Cathy doll. I expect you to have a little string on your chest, that I pull out and have to snap back. Except I wouldn't pull it out and snap it back. You would.
You want to hurt me? Go right ahead if it makes you feel any better. I'm an easy target. I talk too much. I also listen too much. I could be a cold-hearted cynic like you, but I don't like to hurt people's feelings.
Why can't you just tell her it's not working anymore?
Because I don't want to hurt her feelings. My podiatrist, I couldn't fire him when he operated on my wrong foot.
In Shrek, Vishaka Moon Eddie Murphy plays the sweet, loyal, optimistic donkey who befriends Shrek, played by Rahu native Mike Myers. Shrek has a tough exterior in the beginning of the series, which is later revealed as the films go on is because he was afraid of what people think of him, and is actually very insecure about himself.
Take a look at me! What am I?
Really tall?
No! I'm an ogre! Grab your torch and pitchforks! Doesn't that bother you?
Nope.
Oh.
Man, I like you.
Rahu men, more than any other, also make references even to their penises in films, either positively or negatively. They struggle with the concept of emasculation, while Jupiter generally disregards it.
I just sit there for hours on end drawing dicks. I don't know what it was.
One Swedish-made penis enlarger pump.
That's not mine.
This is what you want. Plump and bulbous, glassy smooth. It's like two Patrick Stewarts.
Get your fucking face out of my pants. Relax. Don't tell me to relax. Don't tell me to fucking relax. Just keep your face out of my pants.
Just so
big. What the fuck did you say? What the fuck did you say? What did you say to me?
Hey, he caught one. Oh, yeah.
And also, chicks can kind of see, the borders and outline of my dick a little.
Everyone's like, all right, we'll see you later, Shaq. In my head, I'm like, I gotta see Shaq's penis.
Oh my God, I'm really sorry.
Jupiter men don't often offend the ego in others. In fact, their trope is that even when they have been totally abused by someone, they can't help but keep feeding that person's ego.
You are quite a decorator. It's amazing what you've done with such a modest budget. I like that boulder. That is a nice boulder.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. You should look into it too, Kurt.
I'd rather look into a loaded gun.
Did you just make that up? That's provocative, too. Wait, Roger, you can't go out in that storm.
That was an alternate for season 3 Ice Road Truckers. I'll be fine.
Oh. That was our best season.
So the tightly wound sensitivity of Rahu men is put at ease in their presence. Rahu and Jupiter men also just do well together generally, in that these are arguably the planets most widely recognized for their humor, but in two very different ways. The Rahu nakshatras were all top in my survey of comedians, and Vishaka was also prominent. As you've seen, many well-known, perhaps more self-deprecating and silly comedians like Jack Black, John Candy, Eddie Murphy, and Chris Farley have Jupiter-rolled moon nakshatras, just like comedians comedians like Dave Chappelle, Jonah Hill, Adam Sandler, Robin Williams, Steve Martin, Ben Stiller, Mike Myers, and many more have Rahu-ruled moons. Jupiter is associated with the ether element, which rules the emotion of rage. There is another element to Jupiter men that is important to mention relating to moments of rage despite being so generally kind, because they have no output for accumulated anger, as they don't have a part of themselves that functions for severity.
It's funny how a man reacts when his heart gets broken. Some break down and cry like a baby. Others, they take out an Uzi and climb a clock tower. But Charlie Bailey Gates didn't seem to react at all. He just swallowed hard, felt that slab of heartache slide over the lump in his throat, and he locked it all away.
It's like their energy body doesn't support healthy expressions of defending or standing up for themselves, and they end up suppressing all of their aggression to sometimes dangerous levels. This is also why 2 of the Jupiter-nakshatras were somewhat prominent in MMA, and I showed earlier their interest in martial arts. In their case, it is distance from aggression that makes them more interested in studying in and training in it to try to activate that part of themselves, similar to how they feel distance from carnality that makes them study or talk about sex from a more rational center. There is no ejection point for them for severity, which is how they accumulate so much and grow so large energetically. Just as they don't indulge their senses, they also don't have output for the severe aspects and for being exclusive about who they support, which leads to a lack of balance in their relationships. You can see more of the rage element in the Ashlesha video, where I show raging Punarvasu men who have been totally bound by women. You can see it in the prevalence of serial killers in Purva Bhadrapada, and the aspects of Purva Bhadrapada that in many ways show the more dangerous expressions of Jupiter that I'll mention more later.
Charlie, hey, you mind if I get ahead of you? I'm in a wicked rush. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
You're a doll. Hey, kids! Over here! Now!
The premise of Me, Myself, and Irene is that Jim Carrey's character realizes that if he continues to let people walk all over him, he will snap. And so he activates a new personality inspired by Clint Eastwood to be tough and confrontational, something I'll also discuss shortly in the tough alter ego that Michael Cera creates in Youth and Revolt in order to attract the girl he likes.
Or we could do more than just cuddle.
Nick.
Ooh, I love when you say my name. Why don't you pull down these blankets and show me what you're hiding under there?
Is that what you want me to do?
Say yes. That is exactly what I want you to do. I'm gonna wrap your legs around my head and wear you like the crown that you are. If that's okay with you.
There's also a scene in When We First Met where he takes on what he calls an asshole alter ego in one of his trips back in time, and it's then that he's first able to hook up with her. The cartoon character of Ned Flanders from The Simpsons is described as gullible but well-meaning and good-natured, sensitive, a major family man, and always offering assistance to his neighbors. The Simpsons creators casted a Vishaka moon Purva Bhadrapada ascendant native to voice his character.
Daddy, what do taxes pay for?
Oh, why everything. Policemen, trees, sunshine, and let's not forget the folks who just don't feel like working, God bless them.
And they expressed that if there was a live-action version of The Simpsons, they would have casted Purva Bhadrapada's son native William H. Macy to play him. Despite Ned's generally enduring kindness, moments of bottled-up rage spilling out are depicted multiple times in The Simpsons.
Gotta be nice, hostility, diddly, biddly, diddly. Ah, hell, diddly, ding, dong, crap! Can't you morons do anything right? Hey.
So moving on to a different topic now, although there are quite a few different powerhouse creative nakshatras that I'll explore in a future video, I mentioned in terms of strong identifying with art in the Venus dominant men video that Venus men are the portion of the art crowd that is more avant-garde, making things that are quite sexual, transgressive, or violent, and that Jupiter men tend to be another huge influence in the art world in a more almost hipster and lighthearted way. Both benefics distinguish themselves from the masses through enjoying things that are more quirky or eccentric, enjoying unnecessary things that are only possible when one has excess to work with. When one is in a position of inner or outer struggle, more practicality and cunning is required. But with excess, there's a lot more room to bring in and experiment with things that sole purpose is just for enjoyment, which is why they both enjoy luxurious foods and arts. The film choices of actors like Elijah Wood, Dan Daniel Radcliffe and Michael Cera, highlight this tendency to want to distinguish oneself from the mainstream and embrace the indie. Michael Cera was a kind of poster boy for the hipster movie generation. Jupiter is associated with the arts in the way that it is the significator of the 5th house, which rules your hobbies and recreational activities, as well as your knowledge of scriptures, and that relates to how Jupiter does have an esoteric element that crosses over into the moksha houses, such as how he rules the 12th house in the natural zodiac, but Venus is exalted in Pisces, which is why these two planets are ultimately not antithetical. It's only when men have not liquidated their Jupiter that these planets are antithetical and seem to be at war with one another. Again, Jupiter is associated with the ether element, which rules sound and hearing in particular, and he rules the throat chakra.
Oh, man!
Thank you.
Oh my god. Okay, that was the best thing I've ever seen.
I'm not giving free guitar lessons today. Why don't you stand over there?
You're awesome.
Man, are you guys stupid? Don't you know genius when you see it?
This is why Tara is the goddess who is said to make you have a beautiful voice.
Can't you see he's the man? Let me hear you applaud. He is more than a man. He's a shiny golden god.
As well as speak beautifully in the refined and non-crude way that Jupiter men speak. Jupiter has a lot to do with places like churches or mosques, opera houses, where the human voice is very much the centerpiece. I have been doing a lot of much larger surveys lately with verified birth times, and Jupiter really came up super strongly when I did this in certain artistic fields. Purva Bhadrapada specifically was the top moon in my larger survey of modern musicians, as well as my survey of classical composers. And for modern musicians, Vishaka was the top ascendant, and Punarvasu was the second highest moon. I've explored before how almost any well-known female singers have Jupiter primary nakshatras, and Jupiter men turned out to be extremely involved here as well. Jupiter generally grants success in a very wide range of things in life, just like Jupiter is the Karaka in BPHS for the most amount of houses, 2, 5, 9, and 11. General overall success in life is noted for Jupiter men. There is a lot of wealth, knowledge, refinement, and creativity all at once. This can be understood in that Vishaka's Shakti is to bring success in a wide range of areas of life, and Punarvasu's is the ability to gain wealth or substance. In Purva Bhadrapada, with its Shakti to bring fires to raise a spiritual person up in life, it is the moment where all of this accumulated energy must be offered for enlightenment, which is why it is such an extreme testing point. Jupiter men most naturally uphold morals, and in Purva Bhadrapada, it is where the relativity of morals is revealed, so it's this massive awakening that they grapple with and teach to the world. You may have noticed in the Purva Bhadrapada video the way that these men were involved in corrupt activities or crime, while still maintaining a sweet or innocent aura. In fact, Purva Bhadrapada moon Vishaka sun native Martin Scorsese explained that the reason he casts Robert De Niro in all of these dark and criminal roles is because he's the most compassionate person he's ever met. He claimed De Niro has such a sweet and well-intentioned aura that nothing he does in a film can make him seem irredeemable.
He's one of the most compassionate people I know, a really good man. The audience feels for him. They feel for this character, and therefore there's no character that he plays that is irredeemable.
So he has some way to give that audience a way to hook into whoever he plays.
Yeah, it's his face, it's his moves. It's not only his face. It's his natural instinct in a scene.
In the Polka King and King of Comedy, the Purva Bhadrapada natives are jolly and relatively gentle, even as they engage in crime.
People not so nice here. Lots of people hating me, I think. Even Mickey sent me hate letter, but you know, I'm taking every day by the day. What do you tell me about you?
Stop using my cane.
That is best news.
They are still the same Jupiterian people, just with blown open ideas of moral right and wrong due to the cosmic stage.
그게 쓸모없고 불필요한 건지는 형이 판단하는 건가요?
난 판단 같은 거 하지 않아요.
그건 비 같은 거예요. 비가 온다. 강이 넘치고 홍수가 나서 사람들이 떠내려간다. 비가 판단을 해? 거기에 옳고 그런 건 없어요. 자연의 도덕만 있지.
The wild abyss they enter means they are tempted only with expansion and tolerance, now with no certainty of when or if there is any necessity to hold oneself back from any action at all. In King of Comedy, even while kidnapping the TV show host that he loves, he keeps remarking innocent things like that they can still be friends through the difficult situation.
Jerry, is it yours?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I have one?
I don't mind.
Thank you. Do you want one?
No.
I'll just take one for later then. You know, there's no reason to get mad about it. I'm just trying to ease the tension. Even though this is a kind of strange situation, there are moments of friendship and moments of, well, I don't know, you call it sharing or whatever.
Purva Bhadrapada natives tend to have the effect where, even while engaging in corruption, many people end up siding with or crying for them, which further ties to why this nakshatra in particular tends to have difficulty finding the growth and balance that comes through punishment, because it is so coated in padding and sweetness. Even after stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from innocent senior citizens, Jack Black somehow grabs viewers' empathy at the end of Polka King. In Fargo, William H. Macy's character is shown as quite empathetic, friendly, and a very caring father, yet engaging in spineless forms of crime.
You want your own wife kidnapped?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
Oh, okay. See, it's not me paying the ransom. The thing is, my wife, she's wealthy. Her dad, he's real well off. Now, I'm in a bit of trouble.
What kind of trouble are you in, Jerry?
Well, I'm not gonna get into, see, I just need the money.
This emphasizes that side to Purva Bhadrapada where the tolerance with themselves, the gentleness and avoidance of punishment or severity in life is what actually leads them to trying to take shortcuts that create dangerous situations, and he even causes the deaths of many people unintentionally through his corruption. In Youth and Revolt, Michael Cera depicts these Purva Bhadrapada themes in that he is a gentle guy who can't get with the girl he wants, and due to not being able to activate appropriate aggression within himself, he does extreme things like burning down Berkeley, drugging her with sleep medicine to get her expelled, spreading false rumors about her, all to attain her in other ways than just through his own assertion. His criminal behavior here is depicted as this alter ego that he feels separated from.
To overcome the inhibitions that compel me to be law-abiding, polite to my elders, and excessively nice, I have decided to create a supplementary persona named Francois Dillinger. Bold, contemptuous of authority, and irresistible to women, Francois is just the type of regressive sociopath who can wage and win a war of nerves.
Similar to the way in the film Upgrade that I showed in the Purva Bhadrapada video, he's generally disturbed and squeamish about the violence he's doing as he slowly allows an AI to take his body over.
Sam, he's got a knife! Sam!
I can see that. We have
Youth and Revolt even has the repeated Purva Bhadrapada theme I've shown in a few of my previous videos now, of him dressing as a woman at the end. Like the film Holy Smokes, which I showed in my Mystical Nakshatra series, this whole test to activate a more severe part of himself and where he ends up wearing women's clothes is brought on by the wish to win the love of a Hasta woman.
Have you any misdeeds to report?
I'm working on it. Nikki? You sound concerned.
Well, if you don't take the initiative, how do you think you'll feel when I marry Francois?
In Bling Ring, there is a good-natured, soft character who begins robbing celebrity houses with his largely Ketu-influenced female friends. When later questioned about these acts, similar to King of Comedy, he seems so sensitive and gentle that he's somewhat oblivious to the seriousness of what he's done. Like the other examples I've gone over, he maintains a light aura even after doing many things that would corrupt your opinion of others due to Purva Bhadrapada's natural grappling with the reality of moral relativity and the need to eventually face that in order to have liberation. On another note with Bling Ring, the Purva Bhadrapada character in that film is very much interested in fashion due to the extravagant aspect of Jupiter and why the 12th house rules extravagant items.
Hey, let's try with this. Fix your hair? Oh yeah, you could totally pull this off.
This is a second art form after music where Jupiter individuals tend to dominate and excel. Jupiter primary nakshatra fashion designers include Tom Ford, Giorgio Armani, Pierre Balmain, Alexander McQueen, Ralph Lauren, Franco Moschino, Louis Vuitton, Gabbana, and Perry Ellis. Martin Scorsese is highly involved in the costumes for his films, in which he makes his male characters dress very fashionably, and it has been noted that his films have had a huge influence on male fashion throughout throughout the decades. Jupiter-nakshatra musicians Tyler the Creator and Kanye West both have fashion lines, and Kanye West's line is especially successful and influential. Many of these men in that way begin to support women in another way, which is through fashion refinement and advice.
You come in here dressed like a hobo, it's distracting.
I know you're working. I'm so sorry.
Come on, are you gonna change?
I already did.
It's no big deal, you look really, really nice. Look, if I put that in my Cosmo fashion app, you probably get a D-.
This so went off, I think so.
Just be careful because it's a meaningful sweater that means vintage.
Extravagance is what makes a person interested in luxury, having the access to nourish children and so on. Ducky in Pretty in Pink with Vishaka ascendant was also known for his unique sense of style. And Aziz Ansari's character in Parks and Rec also has a major interest in fashion, to where he opens up a luxury brand thrift store for teenagers. When a culture becomes wealthy and extravagant, a certain form of male sexual love becomes more prevalent, which can be described specifically as the veneration of the Ganymede archetype. Ganymede was the beautiful cupbearer of Jupiter and was an effeminate male concubine kept for the purpose of sexual enjoyment. During times of scarcity, people tend to force themselves or others to act strong or in a typically masculine way, whereas in a culture with excess and extravagance, certain things like men's fashion and glamour and enjoyment of feminine men becomes more possible. Energy begins to flow into more forms and expressions of love and pleasure, and people have more freedom to be genuine about their desires. Caravaggio's paintings of Ganymede were really popular in Rome, which had and still has a strong culture of enjoyment of male fashion. In terms of this natural extravagance, Jupiter rules puja, ritual worship, and the mechanism behind things that people think of as refined, which comes from abundance and excess. So as an example, if you don't have much money, you just have one kind of fork, but when you're rich with excess, you might have a salad fork, dinner forks, etc. It's the same when you're entertaining people, such as how Jupiter rules throwing parties, having banquets, and churning celebration, but it's also like puja. It's not just about offering wine in a plastic cup, it's about putting it in an overflowing copper circum and offering it, or giving something with a special spoon and with a certain hand and placing it on a silk cloth. This is because puja is meant to be entertaining rich and extravagant beings. Because it's ruled by Jupiter, he wants you to be generous, lavish, and excessive in how and what you're offering, just as these men are excessive in the way that they pamper those around them in all realms of life. This extravagant giving nature also ties to the way that I've shown Purva Bhadrapada being the height of nakshatras involved in ceremonial magic. Jupiter-ruled nakshatra directors create the most iconic films and scenes regarding these subjects. Ceremonial magic could only ever be ruled by the height of Jupiter because it is said to allow you to change your life and expand your wealth and knowledge the most rapidly. It is an extremely complex form of worship involving meticulous detail in dress, altars, offerings, and so on. Jupiterian natives enjoy forms of worship involving a group of individuals and making spirituality more accessible to all people. Jupiter is naturally elevated, yet looks upon all people equally, giving to those society might consider the lowest with as much care as those who are respected, no matter what position he himself is in or what struggles he is facing. Jupiter does not practice religion in the lunar way of trying to control people, of placing them into cults or exoteric hierarchies, or of institutionalizing sacred scriptures and limiting people's access to them. Even when they're breaking rules or pushing morals, they're doing it consciously or unconsciously for a sacred, cosmic, and philosophical purpose, and have the opportunity to be greatly rewarded from it. Spirituality in many regards is simply the exchanging of energy, the offering of oneself to the divine, and even if Jupiter natives are not consciously involved in religion, an undeniably reverent and religious nature pulses through them due to their giving tendencies. So a person with low foundational Jupiterian qualities, if they were to do a puja or offering, would not do it with the thoughtful extravagance required, but a Jupiter person would do it in such a generous way that the deities give back to them lavishly too, and they prosper. Jupiter men are cosmically good, and then even though they keep giving to others, they tend to keep universally receiving as well.
Are you praying? You asked for help. I asked for help. That's how things get done.
Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the video. If you found it helpful, please don't forget to interact with this video in some way. Either like the video or leave a comment below. Again, I love to read your comments. If you want to keep seeing content like this and helping to support my astrological research, please also consider joining my Patreon. There will be a link to that in the description box and in the comment section below. And I'm also going to be posting on there a special extra for this video. I don't have any astrological chart services available right now, but if you want to work with me one-on-one, one way you can do so is through my 1-year Female Spiritual Path course, which is a year of 52 special lessons on the sacred feminine function in spirituality. Thank you so much for your support to my generous patrons. My Ray Vadi level patrons are listed on the screen now, and of course a special thank you to my Abhijit level patrons Ray, Ashley De La Cruz, Samia Hogan, Teresa Green, Tandrik Tara, Karamsum Safehold, Eric Linden, Shashi, Kristen, Lori Lane, Avnish Bangar, Andre, John Walter, Maddie DRX, Arena K, Judy Ijoma, John Langston, O'Neill Lewis, Michael M, Jordan Andaluz, Bella, Jazz, Nikki, Aiko, Juliana Sanz, Haley, Annette, Maya, Nicola Murphy, Stephanie Cruz, Crystal Perales, Anjali, Syncope, Umbra Castaway, Carrie Dawn Brown, Benjamin Parkhurst, Mo, Tanya Allen, Vajrasana, and Maka Kiwi. Thank you guys so much for your support and for watching my channel, and I will see you next time.